On you go. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let me quickly add that to the screen. Give me 7 seconds. I just need to send this quick text as I'm in things. So while I do that, let me actually just play. Oh, let me give you 17 more seconds of the intro. It might make more sense in it. Hold on. 17 more seconds. All right. Hold on. Hey, I'll talk to you as it's going down. Just need to add this. Hold on. Yeah, that's the whole song. Okay, cool. Da-da-da. All right. Give me this one. All right, and then that one, and now we're good. I think we're right. Excellent, cool. All right, let's do it properly now. All right, boom, 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 boom. Mm-mm. All right, where's the intro? Welcome everyone. This is Black Raven, your host. This is the Black Betterment Broadcast, and this is the 130th show. 130 attempts at working with Black people to find constructive solutions to major challenges. That's right. All right. What could he do? Let me shut down all these big software that's taking up all my space. There we go. Move that to the side. Now we've got space. Oh, good, 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 good. Now, let's go through and see what we can do. All right. So let's go through as we tend to start every show. Okay, here's the freestyle statements that I recommend every Black person knows and utters and remembers whenever you're trying to be constructive with Black people to keep you on task. Here's the freestyle statements. When it comes to working as a collective with only Black people or matters that benefit Black issues, Black progression, and Black ownership, Black people are collectively inadequate. Very sad. Individually, you might find a non-Black person who shows some kind of corollary towards Black people. However, collectively, Black people have no friends. Very true. No one's coming to save Black people. You have to save yourselves. And constructive Black man with constructive Black woman makes a constructive Black family. A very important quote there. We shall be using that quote today when we look at some of the topics, because sometimes we forget. That's right. All right. We send the link out if anyone's here today. We will be practicing the 4D values whenever we communicate, which is discipline, dedication, discernment, and dignity. That's right. These are the 4D values. Whenever you talk to Black people, try to remember them. It will help you. I should know. All right. All right. Let's try to use derogatory language if possible. Never a good idea. What is Black Betterment? Black Betterment is Black people helping Black people on Black issues for betterment. That's what it is. So we promote the lifestyle of Black Betterment here. That's what we do. It's a lifestyle of helping Black people. That's what it is. We promote it. We also promote our Instagram page to which we promote this show on. So feel free to follow it if you can. I'll put the link there. Zim, 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 zim. All right. Now we move fantastic. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we move fantastic to our topic. 3 topics, funny enough. We're a lot of listening today. Today's a lot of listening. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the YouTube the lobby in straight away, so if people want to jump in, they can. Just so while it's playing, I can pin it. Hold on, where's everything gone? Where's everything gone? There it is. Fantastic. Right, cool. So, can I pin it in here? Let me see. No, I said, can I put? No, that's a user. Can't do that for that one. What does the star mean? The star means. What does star mean? Does that mean pin? Probably not. Cool. Well, who knows? Anyway, yeah. So let's go for it. All right. So 3 topics. Do non-Black people make songs about destroying themselves? Very interesting topic. There's always that history thing that for a lot of the music out there, a lot of the popular Black artists, a lot of them actually make destructive songs, man. And we wonder, is that a trend we see in other community groups? We're going to observe that. We're going to watch a video and listen to what a European gentleman has to say about that. Then we got another one. Should Black men marry the daughters of rich non-Black men to improve their status? This comes from I will watch it afterwards as well. There's some meme or something flying around of a brother who's engaging in some kind of relationship with Bill Gates. This is a guy who owned Microsoft, software, this kind of stuff. He's with her in some kind of romantic relationship, And I think there's memes of, or at least videos of black men going, "Well done for marrying a rich white man's daughter." I guess they're insinuating now you're going to be rich. And we asked the question: is that should black men marry the daughters of rich black men to improve their status? Is that a come up? Is that something that we should promote? Who knows? Greetings to public and press. Greetings. So we're going to unpack that as well. And then last but by no means least, can a black woman identify as a black, can black women, identify as black men? Last week or the week before, we were looking at the basketball player whose son is now identified as a woman, and his stepmom is best pleased with this, but the biological mom is not best pleased with this, but they seem to be pushing her out the way, and now every show is jumping on and saying, yes, you can. A boy can be a girl. And we ask, can a girl or a woman be a man, i.e. black man, black woman? Or you tend to find that in this whole trans world thing, the men, seem to have a bigger stake and a higher angle in it, and just more of a promotion in it, and at least from an optical standpoint, more of a practice in this kind of transitional kind of ideology and behaviors. But I think the question I asked a few weeks back is, are women losing? Could women lose their positioning to men who are transitioning? Because there's this argument that men dominate in all things generally, and women are kind generally, and women are happy to have men identify as women. But could that mean that the little space that women have then gets occupied by men? And I think we look at like a lot of trans men winning Women of the Year, this kind of thing. So just something to worry about, and also obviously the sporting thing where they're beating up women and scoring lots of goals and swimming all over the place, whatever. So things to think about. But we're going to go for it. So which one should we start with? Let me look. Do non-black people make... All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to listen to a European gentleman talk about... I don't know if... I might skip to a certain bit. I might play it from the beginning. Let's see.
Private school in the middle of my senior year.
So listen to this, brother. I'll tell you back. So listen to him. Well, how long is this? This is 20 minutes. So maybe I should skip to 10 minutes.
It's okay. We actually make heroes and out of the notion, heroes out of people that trivialize and romanticize it.
So I'm just, so this is, let me get to a certain bit. Let's say here, hold on.
Categories. You're in one of two categories. Either there's something wrong with them, some core deficiency in black people.
So this is a gentleman talking about listening to a lot of black music on the radio and what he sees. So let's just click it to 10 minutes to see what he says.
They're just prone to violence. So we use anecdotal evidence to talk about that. Or there's something wrong with us. And depending on what category you fall in, if there's something wrong with them, you point fingers. Hey, we need to do something. If you say there's something wrong with us, then you roll up your sleeves and you get busy. Well, the truth is there is something wrong with us. And that's years ago we set off a bomb. And that bomb affected our cultural soil. It affected our definitions. It affected our expectations. It affected who we are, how we describe ourselves, and how we describe other people. What we believe down to the core of our being. It's in our air. It's in our cultural water. And it's passed down from generation to generation. Now, again, it would take me a few TED Talks to really get into this. But the bomb is about lies. It's about deep lies. One of the lies is that blackness is somehow associated with criminality, sexual deviance, and violence. That when you come across blackness, that inherent in being black, there's some sort of deviance, violence, and criminality associated. And that's a derivative of a greater lie, which is that somehow black life is inferior to white life, that the value of it is less. That if you were weighed in the scale, the black life just weighs a little less. That if you were trying to cash it in on the street, you'd get a little less money for it. And these are essential to, these are the lies that help build our nation, help build the Western world. And here's what's interesting about this, is these lies are not only lies we've told about black people, but we've told to them. I was in an unsolved homicides meeting here in Jacksonville last year, 1,100 unsolved homicides. I was there with the families. They were having a conversation with our sheriff's department, and on the walls were all the pictures of the victims. And you already know the vast majority of the pictures were of black residents of Jacksonville. There were white families there, certainly, and I'm not trying to say that it doesn't happen among the white community. Of course it does. But I'll never forget, a mom interrupted the detective. She said, "Excuse me, I have a question." He said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I know you don't know who killed my daughter, but I have a more important question." He said, "What is that?" She said, "When you picked my daughter's body up off the side of the road," she said, "How did you do it?" He said, "What do you mean, how did I do it?" She said, "Well, did you pick her up, and did you set her on the gurney, and did you zip her up in the bag, and did you slide her in the back of the van, and did you shut the doors gently?" She said, "Or did you just pick her up, slam her down, zip her up, and put it in?" She says, "I want to know how you treated my daughter's body when you picked it up off the ground." She said, "Did you treat it like you would treat a white man's daughter?" That's a very interesting question. As though a mother doesn't have enough to deal with, she also has to wonder that when the people working the crime did it, did they work it as somebody's personal, precious life was solved, or is it just another dead black kid on the street? Another mother popped up. She said, yeah, I know you don't have the answer to who killed my son. He says, ma'am, you know I would call you if I had it. I want to call you. She said, I know I don't need a phone call. She said, but I do need to know that you pay attention to it. And I do need to know that my son's death matters. And here's why. Because she sees the files on her desk and on his desk in her mind. And she sees the stacks in her mind of dead black kids. And she sees the stacks of little white kids. And she just wants to make sure that in the common thing that happens all the time, that her son's life is just as precious as everyone else's. Black murder is normal. I mean, when I talk about it, none of you are really shocked. The most you can say is, well, I didn't know it was that bad, which brings up the real question about palatability. Are we comfortable with it being like this? Are we comfortable? I'm 41 years old. Are we comfortable with living in a nation where this goes on? Well, if we're not comfortable, if we're not okay, are we appalled and outraged? And when I say we, I mean we. Are we appalled and outraged? That's the question. There are certainly people all over the country doing something about it, but when I discovered that them doing something about it is totally different than we doing something about it. Now, a lot of things that you have to understand is this about racism. And when I talk about prejudice, discrimination, and racism, the answer lies right here. It wouldn't seem like the answer is here, but if you want to know how comfortable we are with black murder, you just got to look at the marketplace. When you see this photo 1 week after Dr. King won the Montgomery bus court case, and they decided to eliminate the racist policies in the...
I'm just going to see if I can skip to the music bit. Where is the music bit?
And she was voiced by Lillian Randolph, a great radio actress.
So it's a good thing to watch fully. I'll put the link somewhere. I'm trying to get to where he talks about music.
Brand it for our youngest black audiences. I think there's money to be made. I think there's American appetites to see these people that way. I said, how can you say that? They said, well, look, it's what these artists know. It's what they, black people, create. It's, matter of fact, our surveys say it's what they want to hear, which speaks of a sickness. How do we live in a society where somebody says, you know what, I'm inspired to write a song that celebrates murdering another person. And then a person says, I'd like to put that on my station. Another person said, I'd like to pay for it. And then there's people out here in the audience.
So the guy's talking about, labels, sponsorship, and, how it's systematic. And it's programmed, blah, blah, blah.
And said, go, I'd love to hear it, as long as it's black guys. Because even white people buy rap music, buy this type of stuff, because we know that when we want to hear about killing each other, we know who to turn to for that type of inspiration. We call it our music. We say we own it. White people buy more rap than black people. Yeah, but we're very careful to turn it down at the stoplight when other black people are there. Why? Because we know we're just pretending. For them, it's more authentic and real. I always ask the companies, what about your name? What about your brand? What about your value? And the largest radio company in the world said this: it's okay that we only have drug dealers on our black youth stations. We only have murders on our black youth stations. We support black charities. We give out water at the Martin Luther King parade. I think we've got it covered. We've bought them off. Now, people get upset, the smartest guys in the room again. You're talking about censorship. I don't believe that. I believe in free art. Make whatever you want. I believe you should make music about anti-Semitism. I believe you should make music about killing dogs. I believe in this country you should make music about bashing homosexuals and driving them behind trucks. I believe you should make music about stringing people up on trees. I believe you should make music about killing whitey. I believe you should make all that music. But I also believe that in the mainstream marketplace, people should hesitate associating their name with certain content.
The point there. So even though we look at all these music, especially if it's signed to a label, yes, people can be creative and do what they're doing. However, it is going on sponsored time, a certain time of radio, certain time played in daytime on TV, all this kind of stuff, certain kind of award shows. Should there be a limitation of that?
You know, there's certain stuff you can't buy at the store, certain stuff you can't get on iTunes because their brand doesn't want it. But if you want to hear black people celebrating killing black people, they got thousands and thousands and thousands of those things to sell you. I don't think it's about censorship. I think it's about American cultural hypocrisy. Because here's the truth. These black entertainers, they can't sing just about anything. There's some stuff that'll get...
So it is going to highlight, you are allowed to talk about killing black people, selling drugs, and all the kind of sexual stuff that goes on. However, there are some things that there are limits that black artists cannot talk about.
Get them fired, and they get dropped, and they get fired, and they get slapped on the wrist, and they get disciplined all the time. Why? Because sometimes they step over the bounds. A very famous case is what happened with Rick Ross. Rick Ross is the Mammy Two Shoes, one of the many Mammy Two Shoes of our day. He's a black entertainer in a world carved out for him, and a role carved out for him by white entertainment companies. And one day he talked about, in the middle of a song that celebrated dealing drugs and killing blacks, he made a reference to date rape. And when he made a reference to date rape, that set social media on fire. That got 100,000 petitions in 24 hours. Hey, buddy, date rape is no joke. That had white people standing outside of Reebok in New York saying, you better take this seriously. We're tired of a rape culture in America. One line in one song moved the masses. And you know what Reebok did? Did they stand by him and say, hey, we believe in freedom of speech. We believe in freedom of expression. It's just a song. Calm down. No, they fired his tail on the spot. The president came out and said, this goes against our high standards. He's gone against the values of our brand. Shame on Rick Ross. We're disappointed. He doesn't know how serious date rape is. And when I saw that, I thought, wow, how convenient. Isn't that amazing? But here's what really happened. It's not their brand. It's not their values. Rick Ross went off script. He was hired to get black customers, and they think that black customers go with black bait. And in America, black bait is the hyper-criminalized, hyper-sexualized portrayal of black people. And as long as he had sung about that, the stuff that got him hired, he still have a job at Reebok. But when he touched other sensitivities that affect us, he lost his job. See, the truth is, it's not they that need to change. It's we that need to change. We created the lies. We created them for our profit. We own the companies. We own the record labels. We own the advertisers, and we keep putting it out.
Very good point. He's talking him as a white man. He owns all the power that comes to the distribution, ownership, and creative control of the musicians. That's something that we have to remember. Very important.
And it's this that's got to change. I thought about it. You know what? I wonder if White Mike could get anybody's attention on this. So I stood outside of a Walmart, and I said, hey, I don't think killing cops and killing blacks is very cool. And you know what? It only took 7 weeks of Mike standing out there, and they wrote a letter and said, yeah, we don't think it's cool either. We're going to pull our name off of that. The largest retailer in the world had never considered that maybe their commercial shouldn't be right before or after a song about young black men being gunned down. And I realized this, that black murder is normal, but it should not be. And I realized the importance at the coffee table, at every headline, every pastor's gathering, every family gathering to say, you know what, these black lives matter. It's not just another black kid. These are human beings. I'm doing my best in every way, shape, and form. Talks like this everywhere I can go to say, you know what, I was born in a world where black murder was normal. My kids were born into a world where black murder is normal, but I don't want to die in a world where black murder is normal. Am I 5 years or 10 years away? I don't know, but I'm screaming as high as I can. Let's feel this pain, and let's lift our voice to tell the lies. They are not criminals, they are not deviants, and their lives are just as important as ours. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was a quick skip through TED Talks, talking about music, influence, power, and this is answering the questions. Do non-black people make songs about destroying themselves? Non-black people, that was. No, you don't find too many non-black people making songs about killing themselves, self-destruction and degradation, this kind of stuff. Not too much. But I think black people have monopolized on that, and it's something to think of. But once again, even though we're not really blaming, we understand you're in the system, we're highlighting how it happens, and this individual here has tried to explain there. Now, we're going to move on to the next topic. Before we do that, let's welcome Brother Kelt. Welcome, Brother Kelt.
I'm Brother Braven.
Black Betterment. Excellent. We're now going to move on to the second topic, which is, should black men marry the daughters of rich non-black men to improve their status? Once again, this comes from a YouTube or a TikTok or whatever video circulating of a black man dating Bill Gates' daughter. But the issue is, it's just the way black people react, more so the gentleman in the video. And we're gonna break down the things he says, and we're gonna use it to highlight that unfortunately black people are collectively inadequate, and this kind of breaking down of data needs to change. It's not a come up. It is not something that works in black people's collective best interest. But let's have a sneak peek on the boutique and see where are we? Where are we? We are here. Da-da-da.
The pure.
So maybe this guy's some kind of comedian, so who knows? So you're not going to go too hard at him. It's more the idea. Maybe he's for comedy value. Who knows? But he says one or two things we need to unpack.
Kind of love I want. Look at the pure joy.
Those who can't see it, basically, there's a picture of a black man smiling very, very, very dynamically, and he's hugging a European lady who's the daughter of Bill Gates, and there's a floating commentator in front of them, just full of joy and jubilation at this picture.
Joy on his face. Look at that smile. That's real love. Why is he smiling like that? Look who his girl is. Look, don't even worry about her face. Look at her name. Phoebe Gates. That's Bill Gates' daughter. He didn't hit the lottery. I wouldn't care what Dr. Umar said.
So once again, so big up Brother Umar. He's become like a meme now. Whenever black men do not practice black love, then people will reference him. It's very good to have these kind of metaphors, so that at least we know that people are aware that a black man is not doing a particular thing. He's trying to counter the narrative where he wouldn't care what anyone says or Umar says, because marrying a rich white man's daughter is obviously the best thing that a black man can do, according to this gentleman. But once again, we have to counter this narrative. This is not comedy. I understand comedy, but we need to paint the picture that constructed black man and constructed black woman make a constructive black family. That's right. Let's go.
Forget Sierra's prayer. What prayer did he pray? Look at that pure black boy joy. Every picture he cheesing.
I understand this was comedy, new age comedy. I understand. But once again, this kind of chasing white people and this kind of stuff is never a come up. Once again, this highlights what I'm trying to say. When I said when you're talking to people who don't necessarily value black love, what happens is they always talk about the love of the black man for the black woman, but I always say talk about the love of the black man for what the white man produces, because you always have to put things in competition, and the white man is producing better brand in the marketing that the black man is falling for. But this is highlighting that extra because now they're directly talking about this man is with this European woman because of who the father is. See, so this is really going up to what I'm saying and really magnifying it tenfold. This is literally that, and there'll be 1,000 black men saying this is like the ultimate achievement they want, and this is what's best in life for them. This is a defeated attitude, but once again, we are collectively inadequate, so we're going to work with this.
Big smile showing all his teeth. Crab singles. Every picture just cheesing. He can't hold it in. He know he ain't supposed to be there. Look at him. I'm happy for you, kid. It's like a little piece of reparations.
There's no little piece of reparations. Once again, using all these terms for comedy and to justify miscegenation and this kind of thing. Once again, this is what happens. This is like comedy in a very dark place, but we don't know any better. We're still in an adequate state, and we are the byproduct of a colonized people. There you go.
Keep doing your thing, baby. This the one. When they do, when he do that, he letting us all know I'm doing this for y'all. This the kind of.
So that was it. So we have to like sometimes for some people this is very normal and very happy to watch. Once you become semi woke, you understand the system and you're a bit learned, this stuff can really floor you. I say don't let it floor you. What you have to understand is when I start every show with saying black people are collectively inadequate, you have to understand it. It's knowing this truth that allows you to change it and allows you to talk to these people from a better position, knowing that this is something they've learned. And I understand we're in the year of the internet and all this kind of stuff, and it's all comedy and memes and click, 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 and that kind of stuff. However, this is a very good optical piece of branding from an education standpoint for our case study. For when I'm saying that when you're talking to black men who are wanting to have a non-black woman, rather than talking about the woman themselves who they want, talk about the father. Because ultimately that's what it is. You see, big up Empress Kushti, Black Betterment, and to everyone who's tuned in at the moment and in the future times when you hear the show. Black Betterment to all. So this is just a case study, and the question we are asking is: should black men marry the daughters of rich non-black men to improve their status? Now, this is the type of conversation I'm going to be having anytime I debate interracial dating and this kind of stuff. I have no army or war against interracial dating. My whole thing is. You have to give black men or black people the guidance of what black people need and why, and then whatever people choose, what they choose. But you have to know that the challenge is a lot of black men don't know we're inadequate. You see, they don't know that we're not competing on any level collectively at all. And the behavioral patterns we show when it comes to self-hate and repackaging self-hate with comedy, love, and all this kind of stuff. We don't know because it's like I said, when you go into certain communities, you'll see a pimp, and the pimp will dress nice, and the pimp will turn up and very fashionable, and that's because that's all the person has. You see, that's what they have. Big up, brother. Big up. Is that Dave? Div?
What's up, Raven?
Big up.
Blessings, man.
Black Betterment to you, family. So yeah, we're joined today by Brother Cal and Brother Div. We're at the second topic. Should black men marry the daughters of rich non-black men to improve their status? Do you have an opinion on this, brother?
Uh, of course I do. My view on it is if your value is money and being rich, then I can see why you will go there. But if your value has nothing to do with riches, then you wouldn't go down that road.
Mm,
It all depends on what are your values and morals and your standard. It
mm,
doesn't matter what position you're in financially. Does that mean if I'm in a position where I'm really low financially that you can buy me out? So it depends. For me, it depends on your values. And
mm,
if that's your standard, being with a wealthier white woman will up your game. But you just show me where your value is.
mm. Thank you
Yep.
very much. Thank you very much. Brother Cal, do you have an opinion on this?
Oh, yeah. What was that, Brother Raven? I didn't catch that. I was just
Oh, well,
cooking.
the question is, should black men marry the daughters of rich non-black men to improve their status?
Okay. No, they shouldn't, Brother Raven. And the reason why is that both indentured white servants and the upper class were taught uh, the unethical to keep black people in check. You know, the black man, unfortunately, if he does marry or date a European, Asian, Middle Eastern, and that, they always have that power over him
Mm,
collectively. So unfortunately, it just resembles the plantation. So he's the slave and they are the slave master due to the power dynamics. They may not be using certain rhetorics or certain ways back then, but the codification of how they control and use mind control tactics, what their ancestors taught them, or non-African people use that. So it's very dangerous, which leads for them to put the money into the non-African people's communities, and it leads for them to keep on doing that. So the results of it, it's no, they shouldn't know.
mm.
Even can I just piggyback on what he just saying?
Of
What you
course.
just said. Um, as a brother here, grew up with, go to school, we fish, play basketball together. And one British white woman came down here at Carnival. She comes on every year. Apparently, he get entangled with her, and she has money. She's very wealthy, rich white woman. He decided to move in with her. You know, buy a big house over here, and talking to him, he was so devastated that she treated him like her maid.
Mm,
Whenever her rich friends come to visit, she doesn't want him around.
ooh,
He has to go lock up in the room until. But after they eat and do all this thing, he had to come wash the dishes. And I could have, hear the frustration in his head, in his voice. He is pissed, but he, lower himself to that standard
mm,
because he was doing good. You know what I mean? He was very adventurous. He was very, productive, doing his own thing. See what I'm saying? But he allowed her to take him a place where he wasn't ready to be.
mm.
And she really take advantage of him until he has to run away from her, basically.
Wow.
So he thought he would have been better off. She buy him stuff, she give him a lot of thing. He had, she start him up with a little business where he was selling clothes and so forth. But that comes with a price. That
Mm,
comes with a price. And the price is not a peace of mind.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to share that.
Thank you very much for that story. That's very, very important. If anyone in the forum, feel free to jump in as well. The links at the top pinned. If you have any stories about similar stuff, as it pertains to should black men marry the daughters of rich non-black men to improve their status. I think one thing we try to do is try to educate black men onto be leaders and to take responsibility of the community and to do constructive things and promote black ownership, to try to dominate whenever you can. And sadly, you're losing that if you're marrying into another people group because the father is a rich person and this is how you want to come up. It's obviously going to go on, and there's something that when you're dealing with poor people to an extent, maybe that might happen. But what I would say is, even though it does go on, one thing as a community we want to do is we have to understand the optics of things, and we don't want to be using all this kind of content and data to promote anything to mislead black children or black men or boys into thinking that this behavior is constructive and beneficial to black people collectively. And that's the question I always ask people whenever they push an idea. Ask them, how does this help black people collectively? If not, then okay, then do what you're doing, but we're not going to use it as a promotional tool because it's not beneficial. And we've had years and years of unproductive behavioral patterns that doesn't really work. The pic is haunting. Looks like an advert for Get Out 2. Might as well be. Like I said, I don't know the individual here. We wish him well. But we're more referencing the fact that people are taking these pictures and promoting it as the thing to do and well done and pat him on the back, and we wish reparations is finally arrived and all this kind of. I guess comedy, yeah, cool. Maybe it's not, I don't know, but there's a weakness that we want to tackle. There's a subservience that we want to really battle, and we can't do it with this kind of behavior pattern. Right, so we're going to now move on to the final topic. We'll skim through these three again, and feel free to jump in when you can. This one I've got 2 videos, so I might need to skip some. I've got 2. So, but the question is, can black women identify as black men? We spend a lot of time seeing when the male tries to transition into the female, but we don't have too many of the male or the female transitions to the male. At least that story. So we're going to look at some of them, and we're going to see a conversation between the dynamics. Let's just look at this quick 2-minute thing here of 2 individuals, and let's see what they're saying. Just to listen to the test, so we're aware of what's going on, because of where we are in life, we might not be around this, but we want to be aware because some of this stuff might be taught in certain schools, or it might come on your TV, or things happen you don't know, all that stuff there. So let's try to listen. Let's have a sneak peek.
Since I started. For me, I haven't wanted to kill myself.
This individual is born female. Yeah, and obviously something has happened to present differently. But let's have a listen.
Since I started transitioning,
I've been invisible for a big chunk of my life.
So the individuals in here were born female and have made attempts to emulate the male aesthetic to be perceived as male.
And I feel like sometimes I'm still invisible. I was 8 years old, and I was playing out on the schoolyard. I went home crying, and I told my mom, the boys were teasing me, and they kept calling me a girl and told me I couldn't play with them because I was a girl. And then my mom looked at me, and she said, well, you are a girl. And so from there, there was this weird spiral that happened in my little 8-year-old head. But once I became older and I started doing research and trying to figure out where my place was, I found a lot of things about being transgender, but never for black folks. So I figured that being a hardcore lesbian was as good as it was going to get.
For me, coming out wasn't as hard. I used to make up fake screen names, so I had all these male aliases that I would go by and talk to all these people online as a dude, and I loved it. But it wasn't until I was in college up in Westchester where I was having a conversation. So I was trying to hit on this girl, and I was talking to this guy and asking him for advice. And so we're talking, and he gives me all this advice, and he's like, oh, and I was like, wow, you really know women well. And he was like, I should, I used to be one. And I was like, wait, what? Are you serious right now? And it was like literally like my aha moment. Like I had no idea that trans men existed until I met that guy. That's when I knew, to be completely honest, was like, oh, this is it. Like this is what I am.
Coming out as a lesbian was hard enough. Like I lost my mom for like 2 years behind that. And I think they just didn't, at the time, because I am a little older, they didn't understand, and I get that. But coming out as trans was a little different. Like my mom was like, hey, at least you're not gay. My dad literally asked for time, which I respected as well, because he did come to me and say, hey, look, I need some time to kind of wrap my head around this.
I lived in New York City, so that's right there. That's a huge blessing. So I was able to find a trans support group and just go to that. It happened every week. You know, it didn't cost any money, so I could just go, show up, meet people, let those be my friends. So even when I came out, I like specifically told my mom, listen, I have my appointment, I'm starting hormones in 2 weeks, I have a doctor, I really like her, I have support, so you can take all the time that you need to deal with this.
My kids took it like a...
Something to think about as well, when people transition and make the attempt, they take chemicals, and I think it's a lifelong thing. I think it's something they have to keep doing. I'm not too sure, I'm not an expert. And there was a saying that this could be a motivational thing where the pharmaceuticals understand that there's a person who's going to be dependent on their products for a lifetime. So there's a benefit.
Financial.
Yes, a financial incentive to support the agenda of people wanting to do this. So just keep that in mind, but we'll keep listening for 2 more minutes.
Champ, like they were like, hey, go dad, go. And so my son used to call me mom, dad. And after a little while in the transition and my face started to change and my features started to change, my son was just like, okay, can I just call you dad because you look like a dad? I said, yeah, I'll go for it. I transitioned in Compton, and with that came a lot of beatings that came from the immediate community. I had gotten into countless fights, but indoctrinated and socialized as a female child, I never thought that I was strong enough to fight back. And the one time that I did, I fought back because my son, was in my presence when I was challenged. And, I decided to go ahead and fight back, and I won that one.
I mean, there's just like this unrealistic expectation of being super hard and super...
For those joining, we're asking the question, can black women identify as black men? And we're looking at people who were born as black women, and they've made attempts in some form to transition to optically look like black men. And with this last minute of this, then we're going to jump to something else.
Toxic, and that's what makes you a real man.
We're not seen as a demographic that is important. We're not seen as a demographic that even exists. So that's why I call, us as black trans men an invisible group of men.
Stop thinking you're going to understand. You're not going to understand what it's like to be trans if you're not trans. Just like you're not going to understand what it's like, to be a woman if you're not a woman. So like this whole thing of like, I have to understand.
Hold on. The individual said you're not going to
Confuse you.
Yeah, because then what that person just said there was confusing.
I'm just laughing.
In order to accept it, that's got to go out the window.
But in all seriousness, we're no different. We're people just like your people.
What's up? It's Alex.
All right. We're going to look at one more video, and this video is between people who've transitioned and people who are men against women who have transitioned. It's get confusing sometimes to define what's happening. Yeah, it is. So, all right, let me find where that is. All right, is it here? Oh, I know I had it. Is it this one?
Wrong with mankind?
Humans with opposing beliefs together.
There's a long video, so I'm going to try to skip this.
That are the result of misinformation.
I think that some people feel.
So I think this is. Let's see if I can skip to where they're talking. Let's see. There we go. They're talking here, so we can. Let's reverse it. Now there's all different ethnic groups there, but there's two. I was going to meet you, brother Dev. I think you got background. This for 4 seconds. Well, there are two. There's a black transition person and a black man here. So hopefully they'll break something down for us. Then we revert. Is it here? Let me go here. Yeah, they're all together. I think they talk about some stuff. Let's go.
With a lot of what you all are saying as far as like transitioning. But as a black man, privilege looks way different.
So for those looking, if you don't know, the individuals on the left-hand side are born females and presenting as males, while the people on the right-hand side are men.
For me, because if I'm walking down the street, then I'm seen as a threat by police, by women, by anybody else. Being seen as a man is where my privilege stops and where everything else begins. So I don't see it as privilege.
Okay, I got a lot to say about this topic here. First of all, I mean, we have to be transparent and honest with each other. You know, I think that not everybody on this side presents 100% like a man. Like if I saw you in the streets, I wouldn't think you were a man. You know, men have it really hard in this world, and they've always had it hard in this world. The wars have been fought by men. They've died in the hundreds of thousands. Men commit suicide more. Men work more the dangerous jobs. You know, if somebody broke in this place right now, who are they going to expect to defend everybody in here? It's going to be the men. If your family fails, they're not looking at your wife. They're not. They're looking at the man. You know, I just want people to understand that there's some advantages that men have, and then also men do struggle in custody and all kinds of different things.
100%. I 100% agree with you as a man now, right? But what I think my perception of it is different than yours, because you were born male, you were raised male, you have a whole other space in that, and I totally respect your opinion on that, and I believe that that is a true lived experience as a born man.
Yeah, and let me add with the black man, because we have a total different reality in that. I don't, in no way, form, or fashion do I go into a room and I feel like I'm less than. I think I command presence when I go into a room because the way I'm dressed, and I'm tall. I go in the streets, I've never had a person cross the street. I've never been attacked by a police officer. I was a police officer. You know, I've been pulled over probably 3 times in my entire life.
I mean, my biggest question with this and why I don't necessarily agree with it is because when it comes to privilege, there's not really a way to quantify it. It's very subjective. So like your version of male privilege and your version of male privilege are very different.
So it's hard to see the other side because you've never lived it.
Yeah.
The difference between you and us is we see it because we've lived it. You have not. So it's easy to speak and be like, well, it doesn't exist. But well, how would you know?
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I think everybody has certain privileges, but what I think the question here is what defines male privilege over women? Because women have privileges too. Right. So is there a graph that you guys are calculating to make men have more than women, or what?
The privilege is not acknowledging what you have that comes so easy.
So do you think that your fear, because you live both sides,
right,
do you think your fear is something that you have in your mind, or you think it's a reality? Because no, let me say this: you never really changed as a person. You're the same person
right,
that you
exactly.
were. So you have the same physical capabilities that you did when you were a woman.
No.
You don't?
No, my strength is entirely different after
what percentage would you say?
More than 100%.
Okay,
I weighed like 100 pounds.
But
you're
still not probably as strong as me.
But it's not about strength. It's that women are targeted. Men are not targeted. I mean, maybe sometimes. I'm not saying it's never going to happen.
They're targeted by other men. Most of the homicides
but women are targeted
are
by other men. I think women have less of a safe space.
I disagree. Men don't have a safe space. If you go to certain
But I'm talking
cities,
about
they get murdered by other men.
but I'm not talking about certain cities. I'm talking about everyday life.
Yeah, every day.
Not
I think that's a blanket
statement. Have you been attacked as a woman?
I have.
I have been pressurized.
I've been raped. I've been attacked. I can go on and on and on. I was homeless, living in the streets, raped all the time. It happens. It's a real thing. Yeah. I didn't see the guys on the street getting raped, but
men do get raped.
100%. But the experience of
do you get catcalled down the street? Like,
I mean, women say things to me. When I was a police officer,
do you feel threatened? You feel empowered though, right?
No, I don't feel empowered. I feel that's
But do you feel scared? Do you feel threatened when a woman catcalls you?
No, I don't. I don't feel threatened if a man try to challenge.
Because you have that male privilege.
Right. As a woman,
what if a man was whistling at you when you were walking down the street?
I've had it happen to me. I had gay men whistle to me.
But how does that make you feel?
I don't care.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I mean, as long as you don't touch me, we cool.
Right.
I know you may think I'm attractive. That's fine. That's cool. I get it.
I think women will say the same thing as long as you're not like trying to be predatory. And I've seen it because I go to clubs with my friends who are girls, and I have to tell the men to literally leave them alone because they keep going. And they're predatory, and they're literally scouting out for women that are drunk or whatever, not even drunk. She could say no 1,000 times, and they're still gonna bother her. But the minute that I say something, they stop.
Women are not as strong as men, and they get targeted. Sure, yes, that is a privilege that men have over women, but that doesn't mean that men have privilege because of that one situation. Men commit suicide way more than women do.
Because if we're gonna go that route, trans men commit suicide twice the rate.
But that's not.
I think what's important here is to distinguish the fact that yes,
Family watching, I'm asking the question, can black women identify as black men? Feel free to ask questions or jump in the forum and talk. If you wish to, you can also say pause. And we're just listening to a talk between transitioned women and men. And there's obviously black men on the panel as well. Do you have anything you want to say, Robert Dev? You've unmuted yourself.
This thing is hilarious. Sure. Why they even having this conversation? Why they even having this debate? You're a bloody woman in a suit. What? I am trying to find them in my mind. You're trying to share different experience, but you have not been through what a man been through. We're talking about an authentic man. You put on a costume and want me to identify you as a man, and you're trying to equate what you've been through as a female the same as a man, and talking about man have privilege. The last time I checked, women are more privileged than men. The law is on the woman's side, not the man's side. So when you're talking about privilege, I think this thing is so confusing in my head this time. You have a bunch of men sitting there and having a discussion with women in a costume, trying to pretend to be them. And you are literally having a conversation, debating back and forth. It's ludicrous. You're a woman. I don't care if you sew up it and put on a ding dong or whatever. You are a woman. Come on now. What are we doing, man? Sorry, Raven, go ahead.
That's okay. So that's Dev. Dev just give his and I think the brother Kel, did you say you want to say something? I can't.
Yeah, I was going to say, brother, that from a political analysis, is each one of these individuals is trying to climb the ladder of white supremacy. We know as a people, because of the power dynamics, we'll do anything to kind of get up there, as what Francis Fenham made perfectly clear in his book, Blackface, White Mask, Why the Black Man Goes Out of His Race. Whereas the Europeans who have changed into a man, although the European woman, the elder Dev is right, they do have that kind of that privilege as a white woman, but nevertheless, due to our nature as human beings, we always want to be up to the top. So it's definitely a stage in white supremacy. I just wanted to say one thing for our sisters who wants to be like the black man. Our ancestors created a structure called the Siroth tree, and it has 11 attributes that will help the black man and the black woman to synchronize. The first one is Kifa, the source. The second is Chukmeh, the wisdom. The third is Darth, which is the knowledge. The fifth is Jesed, which is mercy. The sixth is Tifre, which is beauty. The seventh is Binah, which is understanding. The eighth is Jevra, which is strength. The ninth is Hod, which is majestic. The 10th is Yusad, which is foundation. And as for the 11th, it's Makuth, which represents the black man and the black woman. If we tamper, brother, with any one of those, right, there will be an unsynchronized balance with us. The moment the black woman becomes a man or the black man becomes a woman, we cannot be available to fight white supremacy because of the way the ancestors, how they understood the creator. If we stay in our gender and synchronize based upon these principles, or whatever system you're following, the laws of nature, you can defeat white supremacy. But this way, brother, we'll get trampled over. Never gonna happen.
Okay, let's carry on listening for a bit. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, brother Devin, brother Kel.
No one is negating the fact that women get preyed on you know, there's situations where this happens, right? Like no one's going to deny that. But we're also just trying to say that it's not like a one-sided coin here, where there's no like men are just, you know, we just have it good and we can do whatever we want.
I do not believe that's true.
We can't even be the next Supreme Court justice because you know, it's like.
But you know, I live as a man, so I see the difference now.
Yeah.
When I said I have privilege and I walk into a room, of course, but then there's other things that are expected of me now as a man that I would never knew were expected of me.
So would you guys agree that there's such thing as female privilege?
Oh, sure, 100%.
My wife has privilege because she has me.
That's right.
So she don't have to worry about her
Right
safety
on.
because I'm there.
I don't believe that as a man, it's like, you know, there's marketing for women-owned brands. I can't be the next Supreme Court justice. Like women are very much more empowered today, which I think is, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, like, good for you. But I think that the man I probably have privilege because I'm, you know, 6 foot 210. Like no one's picking on me when I walk down the street. You know, I used to live in Chicago and I used to walk home all the time at night. But like, was that smart? Probably not. But I felt a little safe because, you know, I'm not 5 foot 100 pounds. I'm Max. I'm 29 and I'm a conservative man. In today's society, women and men can be whatever they want and be as successful or strong or as big of a leader as they choose. So I'm just wondering, in a society that is so seemingly more level than ever before, why are we transitioning to different genders to find, and what are we looking for?
Biology determines gender.
The question they're asking is, does your biology determine what gender you are? And I guess this is why we're here to find out, can black women identify as black men?
Sex and gender, people try to argue that they're different, but sex and gender actually go hand to hand. And our biology, being a man, comes down to every fiber within our body. So whether that be DNA, chromosomes, testosterone levels, bone density, there's a whole bunch of different factors that go into it, and it all has to do with biology.
So biology, I 100% believe in biology. Today we talk about biology being a social construct. I disagree with that as a transgender person. I was born biologically female. I always acknowledge that, and today I live as a male. Now that being said, sex and gender, they are trying to separate those things. Gender can be, I've chosen my gender. As you see, nobody would, I think, probably understand that I used to be a female. Now, many people do, like you just said, believe that sex and gender are one thing and you can never change those. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm trying to show the world that this is how I feel by presenting the outside. But I think denying biology is where we get into a lot of problems.
If you want to be, you know, seen as a man, then like,
right on.
Who are you to? I don't care. I mean, you do you, whatever makes you happy. But I think like it becomes a slippery slope. It's like, how are we going to deny basic human facts? Like, there's two genders.
I think that causes problems, and it causes problems for me.
Yeah.
Because the minute I start denying your biology, now you feel attacked by me. Right. And I don't want you to feel attacked by me. I never want you to feel, I want to be a part of, if that makes sense. You don't have to agree with my choice of how I live my life, but all I ask for is respect.
What do you have on your driver license and your birth certificate?
Right,
do you change it to male, or do you change it to?
So that being said, I transitioned to live as a man 29 years ago. So that was way before you see any of this stuff, and I had to acknowledge my biology, right? That being said, my license, I travel the world. It has to say male. Can you imagine if I showed up at the airport, they're like, female? Dude, there's something going on here. But I actually got my birth certificate changed to male. I was the first person to do that here in Los Angeles. But that being said, I kind of think that it might have been a mistake to do that now, looking forward today, because I never thought we would be having this conversation.
I'm glad you said that, because I love that people can express themselves. We live in America. It doesn't matter what I believe, what my religion is. I love that people can live their best life. I'll never, ever in my life protest or try to go against a person who wants to identify. The problem is when you begin to try to change language and you begin to try to change reality, and then therefore it changes on the children, and all of that becomes problematic. If a person says, okay, I acknowledge I'm born as a man or a woman, but I want to identify as this, cool, I respect that. And even if I didn't want to see it that way, and some people may be a little more ambiguous, I wouldn't never disrespect you. I'll call you by your name.
That's right.
Whatever name that you want to be associated with, I'll do that. And I think if everybody in the country can get on that same page, I think we'll see less division.
I've noticed in a lot of the trans individuals that I've met,
Let's skip it to where the black guys are there. I think that's right. Only 4 seconds on. So I get go.
Gender in itself is something we get to choose.
Okay,
That's right.
just like you said.
Well, in your
right?
in your life, you get to choose. Not
That's
you don't
right.
get to choose it for the world, but you get to choose.
I
your
get to
life.
choose my gender because I've been on testosterone for 10 years. Okay, going on 11 years.
But there's some anatomy that will never change.
That's right.
Right? I mean, you're gonna you still have ovaries. You still have
Yes.
the female reproductive system. You
Yes.
said that you had a child.
Yes, I've given birth. I no longer have female reproductive organs.
Right, but you had that. You will never get male productive organs.
Now, when you think about it, the male and female productive organs are similar, and they're nearly the same. They're different.
Right.
They're different in size.
Even if
Biologically,
And they're different in
in-
functionality too.
Not necessarily,
Well,
because the testes and the ovaries are very much similar. One is an egg, one is a fertilizer,
But
and
we
that's
can
the
never.
difference.
But I never can produce sperm.
You're absolutely
ever,
right.
Ever.
You're absolutely right.
They can never produce ova.
And you guys are saying that gender is like a social construct. Is that what you're saying too, that you could change it? But also, if you want to be technical about it, age is a social construct, your ethnicity and race is a social construct, and I'm Hispanic. I can't say I'm Chinese because I like Chinese food. I could bleach my skin all I want. I could wear Chinese clothes.
No, race is
Chinese.
not.
It's a
How
social
is
construct.
ethnicity going to be a construct?
There's all social constructs.
So
We all agree on it.
how
If you look
exactly?
If you look up, is race a social construct? Ethnicity a social construct? Is time a social construct? Everything's a social construct if you want to think about it that way. But we have set truths and we can't change those truths. If you want to say you're trans man, that means you're a biological female that thinks that
No,
you're a male.
I am a biological male. I'm an anatomically.
See, he's gonna have different
I'm
version
still
of it than- and
right.
I think it's really important that we
right,
understand
and,
we're all gonna have
it's
different views.
anatomic, okay? Because biologically, I have shifted. Okay, trans meaning going from one to the next.
Biologically and all these things, I know that there's importance for you guys, but meeting me or seeing me, you would never know. So why is it important?
Well, no, because just
I'm just
say
curious.
if I was a woman, just say if I was a woman and I wanted to date you, what are you gonna tell me?
I would tell you that I'm trans. What do you mean?
No, I'm saying you can't tell me that you're a man.
I mean, I'm still a man.
No, but you
I'm a
gotta
trans
tell me.
woman.
You gotta tell me that you were born a woman. You have to.
I mean, I don't have to.
Well, because if I go down, if I see
Right.
you in your pants,
Right.
I'm gonna see something different, and that will be troubling to me if I had an expectation.
But again, this is like leading off the topic, but I mean, to answer your question, if you must know, I do tell the person that I'm talking to or interested that I'm transgender. I don't think that you need it to, you don't need a penis to be a man. And I know that you may disagree, which is fine, like I get it, but I don't want one.
Now, I have a question for all of you. Do your penises make you men?
Yes,
Well, it's part of our,
Like,
it's
no,
part of what
that
makes
is-
me a man,
is
yes.
that what makes you
Well, I
a
said
man?
being a man's ingrained within every part of your body. So our cells are
Right,
yes, our
but,
penis too.
but if you
someone goes
had
to war,
to if you had to look at the difference between us and between you, now would that difference be the lack of a penis?
If we were naked,
Okay.
I mean,
So
it
if
would
we're
be-
gonna minimize being a man to that particular anatomy,
we didn't minimize
No.
it.
I'm asking the question. Okay. If we minimize it, because this is where we're going, is anatomy, right? Because that's where we've gotten.
Our basic
Okay.
biology, yeah.
So if we get there, so do your penises make you more men than us?
It's part of
It's
what
not
does.
making more or less. It's we're a biologically man. You're not a biological man.
It's not a spectrum,
It's
so
from-
it's not a question that we can answer because you're saying on the spectrum, would this make us more of a man than you? But no, it's because we are a man and you guys aren't.
Well, we're different.
So we're not men.
We're
Is
different.
what you is exactly what you just said.
In my view, you guys are appropriating the gender and you are living as a man, but biologically you are not a man. So to me, it's not. You can't say, okay, well, does that make us more of a man? That's not even a question to ask because you're not a biological man. When it comes down to asking questions that make me start to change what the truth is and what the truth isn't, putting it on a spectrum when it's an objective truth, that's where I draw the line.
What's the biggest problem with what he said? It doesn't make you. It doesn't make what you feel any different. The biological truth is the truth, and why can't that be the truth? And you also say, but I feel like on the inside that I'm a man and I'm going to present that way.
The argument is that people try to invalidate who we are with that. I'm not saying that you guys are doing that, but a lot of society in the world does that. Well, biologically, you're female. What hurts trans people that people don't realize what they're doing is it's very harmful. You got to be aware of what you're saying and what you're putting out there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, 100%. I would, and that's why I think we all agree. We would never try to offend you or anything like that. To be honest, if I saw any one of you in the streets, I don't care. It's not going to bother me that you want to.
Right.
I would know unless I pulled your pants down or something. Right. Why do you feel like you have to present the way you do? You know, facial hair. Could you
right.
be a man without having facial hair?
I mean, yeah.
Because you feel like you're a man.
I'm in the early stages of testosterone. I haven't hit 1 year yet. But personally, for me, I crave, having a full-on beard like these fine gentlemen, and you guys all have. Like I crave it, like. But I do believe not having like this little small peach fuzz I have going on, it does make me feel more dysphoric. It makes me feel like, oh, this is how I.
So the gender dysphoria is a psychological illness that everyone acknowledges. So you can describe that publicly and you won't be shut down, I think. And that's where you're born woman or a man and you feel the other, you feel the opposite. That's what it's called, gender dysphoria.
Yeah, 1 minute. Oh boy. Raven, it's a shame that we have gotten to this place where a woman wants to identify as a man, but she doesn't have the characteristics of a man. I don't care how much facial you put on to imitate a man, it doesn't make you a man. Yeah? So you telling me if I want to be a cow, I could dress up as a cow and go be a cow, right? But that's what they're saying here. That's what they're pushing. Because they keep speaking about that's how I feel. Your feeling is subjective. Your feeling is like a roller coaster, you can't trust it. So if you feel like a dog tomorrow, you go to your doctor and get customized to look like a dog, are you going to do that too?
We might be covering that too. There are some people who identify as animals.
Oh Lord!
Yeah, there's a.
Shit!
So it's something in the black community you have to be aware of, and it's certain things we have to like. How do we handle it, and how do we make sure certain things don't run wild? The reason we're discussing this is because last week there was a gentleman whose son wanted to be a girl, and now they're using this child as the poster boy.
Yeah, I know. Drain weight and
that
is a financial move and an agenda pushing. Man.
So these are the templates. So that they make these kind of templates and they follow through, and then it becomes normalized, and it's just something that black families need to be aware of. And like I said, we don't have all the answers. Like what is psychologically going on in some person's mind or why it happens. That's something that we're going to try to study and unpack. But this is their testimonies. And
but have you ever wondered why they chose that couple? Have you ever wondered why they chose that couple specifically and to push that agenda?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's a show in itself. Why with last week, we know that the mother isn't best pleased with the son doing this, but they're not. And I follow a lot of Black Love and Black Magazine Instagram pages, and they're also promoting it. And then you see the types of people that support it and the types of people that don't. The community is very divided. They'll make you look like either it isn't divided or it's 50-50, but it is still something that black community is very uncomfortable with. And this is the campaigns they're doing, and they're using the algorithms to make it more normal. And Wade and his son are going to be used. Interesting thing. Brother Kelly, I'm just going to mute you, Brother Dev, for a minute for your background.
Sure. Yeah,
Brother, you said you wanted to say something, Brother Kelly?
Yeah, and it's watching the video, it also kind of reminds you how white supremacy operates as well. With the non-Africans, the way how they don't understand unethical code of conduct, which they do every day, and then they all say, "I'm not trying to take this away from you. I'm not trying to change, but you are trying to change our belief system to go along with your subjugation." And I believe for the marketing strategy of this, bro, is that we have to always market as what you says, and a lot of people, how is this going to benefit the black community? And we should do a brainstorm, write that, and then put ways like lines and is this, write down this, write down that. That should be the focus. Perhaps that would limit certain types of diverseness amongst us was to get us focused on the community more than our individually selfish needs.
Yeah, I think when we look at black people as a whole, you tend to find that we always seem to miss the trick, and sometimes we jump on board things and we don't see it being overstepped. So, for example, if we look at historically in the white-owned media, very rarely would you see constructive black families on their TV shows, if at all. And then when the agenda came to show mixed families, meaning one black parent and one non-black parent, the ratio was more on TV than was actually in the community. Now, in the happy kind of way of speaking, it was good that you're showing, more black people, more mixed love, whatever. But the negative impact of that is you haven't shown constructive black families, and now you're going straight to biracial families, and you're showing them as constructive, and then black people haven't had that time to get their come up. But then it's also a double-edged sword when the question is, technically, you should have no expectation that a non-black person is going to represent black people anyway at all, and that should motivate you to do your own stuff. But let me stop there to welcome Empress Kush. Welcome, Black Betterment, Empress Kush.
Black Betterment family.
Okay. Have you been following the show thus far? We're on Can Black Women Identify as Black Men? Do you have an opinion on this, sister?
Yeah, I don't think black women, that's my opinion. I don't think the answer is no. I think I've seen this before, but I've not seen the first one that you put on before. But I recognize the black individual on there, so I thought it was that one. So yeah, I'm just kind of listening back. I've agreed with everything I've heard on the panel this far, so I just jumping on for support. But yeah.
I mean, one thing, something we always have to step back and try to analyze from different angles. And I think right now the word trans is very very powerful when it comes to the gender and the sexes. Like, a man can be a woman and a male can be a female, and this word, many black people wanted to make this word possible when it comes to being black and white. Historically they wanted to be a trans white person, or whatever it was, whatever it might be, transracialist. And they thought that by doing this, they wouldn't be enslaved or they wouldn't be beaten up, but it didn't work. You can see them on Ricky Lake where people say, "Are you mad? You're black. You can't transition, whatever." But I suspect, if not already, if the white man wants to be a woman, soon we'll accept that. And if the white man wants to be a black man for whatever reason, maybe he wants to get reparations from a white man. Who knows? But whatever the white man wants to do, he will market it. So I suspect transracialism will come soon, if not already. I know we've seen what the racial dollars are, this kind of stuff. Right?
Because now, unfortunately, brother, there's a lot of unsynchronized African descendant that is going along with this transracial thing that Europeans are starting to say that they are now. I'm transracial, and we're going along with it. And it's finding it very strange because, like, when they get in problems, they're going to be one racial and remove transracial.
Yes.
So I mean, so why are we going along with these things? Perhaps, as you always say, we market the white man's propaganda.
Yeah, it's something we've got to be very aware of. And maybe next week, there's obviously this famous, well, not famous, but this German lady who's transitioned, has done all the cosmetic melanin kind of stuff to look black. And last I've checked up on her, she's gone to Kenya to meet traditional people out in the spaces there, and dressing traditionally and dancing and introducing herself as a black woman, and she wants to be a black woman. We might cover that sometime, but it's something to be aware of that. So the one thing we want to do is we want to give a round of applause to the white community who come up with these ideas that really don't really mean much or anything to outside the community, but they market and brand it to the point where everyone's jumping on board with it. And the reason why we need to round, because how they're doing that is we need to study that so we can promote constructive black love and black economics, you see. And we need to create a kind of like what I was thinking is there's mainstream ideas and there's niche ideas, right? So if the black community, whenever they try to come to these mainstream ideas, the ideas they go, oh no, we're black, it's okay. We don't do that. We don't do that. It's not for us. So that's the kind of way we're like, yeah, that doesn't benefit us because we're still trying to recover from colonization and systematic white supremacy, this kind of stuff. So all this kind of stuff you're doing because you have time, we don't really have that.
The thing is, brother, is how do we tackle it? You can use symbolic strategies into understanding it psychologically. When Colin Kaepernick, right, put his knee down,
yes,
right, that was a symbol of, I am not going to advocate what you're saying. It's like, for example, in this show, right, the two African descendants, right, they are, I understand you have to be diplomatic, but what they're doing is, it's like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. You see, when you're doing that to non-African people, you're automatically dismissing your feelings. You see, and because we don't control how we see ourselves, they automatically control the whole situation, which is why I understand why elders always say, avoid being around non-African people in movements, in daily life as much as possible, because them being there changes the whole power dynamics of how you think. You become subservient because you're not doing what Colin Kaepernick did. I'm going to put my knee down, right? And you don't have to be aggressive. You can just be diplomatic. I don't agree with that at all. No, I don't agree with it. People, you can just say that one thing for the whole show. It's not going to benefit black people. It's not going to benefit black people. But because we want to secure how they feel, you've lost the battle. The moment you start saying that, the dopamines will validate non-African people's assumption and their campaigning, and we've lost the war. We have to campaign that, Brother Raven. We have to read it.
I hear that. One thing, maybe another angle to approach as well, alongside that, is they've already identified this word, gender dysphoria. So we know that something is not working correctly. They've identified this, right? And clearly they've identified it. But I guess as time goes by, they want to say it's natural, whatever, right? So I think one thing is keeping on that topic, that there is something not working well here. Now, we don't want to cause offense, because when someone isn't well, you don't mistreat them. But for us to then change an entire philosophy, society, and based around this, we need to really review that. And currently, we just can't be doing that, you see. But then once again, it's the marketing. The Dwayne Wade situation is in full force, and like I said, we're seeing it now, but it will be more intense. And all the black, not black owned, but the black awards. Once you start seeing this stuff in black award ceremonies, adverts, films of black people, whatever, shows. And the thing is, what's interesting with black people is there really is a general pushback. Black people generally are not into this from a mass standpoint, right? But yet it's still coming forward. But not to get me wrong, I am sympathetic to the person who feels a certain way. For something that's happened in your life where you feel like you're a man, or you feel like how you feel a man would feel. I don't know, right? And to these people, we have love and respect for you, and we always welcome to come and discuss these challenges. But you would have to really fully explain why we should really change our whole cultural norm to uphold this new template for a very small minority of what's been described as a psychological challenge.
We also, as well, Brother Raven, have to look at it is that when you do decide to transform with that particular movement, you're doing it subconsciously to still black people's rights.
Yes.
If we market that, okay, you're trying to still our rights, because that's all it is. Because I've listened to the conversation, I get where they're coming from, they feel that way, but then for some reason, it ends up, let's take black people's rights. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to look at it that way as well. They're looking to take your rights, just like when they say that, when they come to Africa or the Caribbean, and they'll say that, I am a Caribbean more than a Caribbean who has ancestry there, or an Afro, Caribbean, etc. And that they're only claiming these labels to steal the resources and get full control. We have to look at the LGBTQ community as whenever they are in that state, it's to steal our rights. And bearing in mind, Brother Raven, that's exactly what they've been doing. They've been stealing and taking that right. So it's not like we're wrong. We just have to capitalize on what they're doing.
I hear that. And one thing we always have to understand is, there are black people in many different pockets of life and niches and stuff. And we understand that even when you look within the LGBTQ, the black section of that will be at the bottom, you see. And one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to create scenarios where they can't, there's no way for them to come here, and when they're there, they're being mistreated, right? So it's definitely something, I'm definitely putting a conversation out there for us to explain and have a conversation about what's really going on. But funny enough, I think let me see if I can play this video. Hold on. Oh, get it out of the way. There we go. Stop. Present video. So I just downloaded this transracial woman. It's just probably 7-second video, whatever. But let's just see if I can find it. If you download, it's where is it? This today. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Ta-da.
Still, some people say you will never be black.
So for those who know where we're looking at, the question was, can black women be black men? And there's this new push that gender is non-binary, fluid, and this kind of stuff, and they can, and then we're saying, does this work with black people collectively, and could this be used to depower black women and stuff? Because remember, when all these new things come in, unfortunately, no matter what happens, the black woman is the first to lose, because the black man is almost incapable at times of defending and doing the role, and this taps into the whole, looking in white men's community for their women, this kind of stuff, and not really doing what you should supposed to be doing. But then you have many black women who have been compromised unknowingly, who might accept this kind of like transitional kind of ideology. The reason why it's interesting for us to talk about, because when you start seeing award ceremonies and competitions where the transitional man is winning on behalf of the woman, then that's showing you that further, even though you're being kind to let them in, you're losing a lot of the little power that you had. Something to be aware of. But also, this trans word, we're looking at historically many black people, when they were being killed, wanted to be trans white, hoping that being white would minimize the death and the chaos. But the white person said, no, sir, this is what you are. You're black and you have to suffer because of it. However, today we are now seeing the new trend of trans black people, which will be coming in full and give it 10 years, full and thick. But let's have a sneak peek at this German individual who wants to be black.
If you're joking with us, I want to be black and more black. I want to be much darker. Yeah, I like the contrast between light jewelry and black dark skin. I only want to have more sun color, also like holiday color. The doctor did 3 injections in January last year, but not only my skin color changed, also my eyebrow color changed, my eye color self changed, my regrowing hair got darker, and also now you can see it's growing curly like the African girls. Really, my whole body changed. It's really fascinating what's happened inside. I think I'm changing my race.
She's now gone to Kenya to meet traditional black women.
That's the reason why I go to Africa, to learn more about the culture, not only changing my color, because I feel that I'm black.
She says she feels like she's black.
Describe myself as African woman.
She's an African woman.
Proud African woman.
There you go. Interesting picture there. Should I screen grab? Trans black woman versus a black woman in this picture.
Hello together. I'm just carrying the water to the village. We came from the road. Now we're going to the village.
I was so fascinated, and then Martina was the classic blonde, beautiful Barbie, and then Martina started the second big transformation to a real African beauty.
I'm so dark that even when I go to an Afro shop, I was to find dark makeup in an Afro shop, and they say, okay, I have dark colors, but you are much darker than expected. I don't know why it works for me so well, but I know, for example, Michael had the same injections.
For me,
I think they're talking about Michael Jackson. I think he had his melanin removed, but I think hers was added. I don't know if this is cutting edge technology or it's sci-fi. I'm not sure, but this is what is being reported.
the injections works also well, but not much so well as for Martina.
I am very happy that Martina came to visit me. We had a lot of fun. If you meet her in real, then she looks like African, so like me, African. She's now brown like me, and I find her interesting.
Like I said, black people are very kind, are very open and warm and welcome. It's how colonization happened.
Go see.
But
Yeah.
there is a niceness in black people all over the world, but you have to be careful of the things you're giving away because it will come back.
She looks nice.
It's not only the look that changed, also the inner heart. Big is not big enough is still my motto. But also, black is beautiful.
Okay, there you go. That was transracialist German black woman, trans black woman, as they call. So yes, we showed that because we're showing can a black woman be a black man, and right now many people say yes, and when we ask you can a white woman be a black woman, everyone screams no, but soon they'll be screaming maybe, and then yes. And this what I'm going to say is going to be very shocking. You must forgive me, but no matter what happens, black women will always lose. Anytime black women unite with any other movement, uh, you're at a tremendous disadvantage, and you have to be very aware to defend your assets, your identity, your optical everything, because you will lose it. Even though black women are extremely kind, be very wary. And unfortunately, we're trying to get black men on code because many black men are defeated, and hence why we started the actual show. As we're going to loop now, go back to the beginning. Unless anyone wants to say a comment in the forum while I find the button. Where's this button? I think it's here. Is that it? That is not the button. Oh, I got rid of it, didn't I? Sorry, family.
Yeah,
Feel free.
that was very that lady's always shocking. I've not seen her go to Kenya. Her update, I see she's still at it, but
yeah,
it's just quite shocking, isn't she? She's quite shocking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, I'm just their opinion, but I just don't think that it's as big of an issue for us. I just don't think this is our problem. I don't think that this is a problem that's really affecting the black community to an extent. I think that's why they're pushing so hard to push it, because I know that they want us to be jumping on more than what we are actually doing, but I think in reality I don't think we are, and I think that's why the media and the propaganda's all focused onto us and our community to try and entice it. But I just don't think, like what you said before, I do think it's that where, you know, this is just not, it's not a black people thing. I just don't see it as a black people thing.
Are you talking about the transsexual thing you're saying? Or
The transgender thing.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, the transgender thing. I mean, the transracial thing, I think as a black woman, I think there's been transracial before there was transgender, because I mean, for the longest of time, white women have been tanning, injecting their lips, their butts, their hairstyles. So they've kind of been transracially for a while. Do you know what I mean? We've got a few of them in our community already. So, but the transgender thing is like, I just think I'm definitely one of the people that just says, it's not a black thing. I mean, if I can count probably on my hands how many actual transgender I've seen in my real life, and I don't think any of them have been black.
Mm.
Yeah, and they've all been men to women. So I've seen like a lot of white men dressing as women, lipstick, high heels, boots. I've seen that a few times, but I've not actually seen a black man on London street with like boots, high heels, and I've not seen it yet.
Funny enough, just to amalgamate all into one, there was an individual who used to go to Speaker's Corner who identified as a biracial, was a born biracial male. And I believe this individual was also a twin. And at some point, this individual wanted to transition into a woman and got all the finance that you needed and this kind of stuff. And then this individual started going to the park. But what's interesting is this is a byproduct of a white mother and black father, born as a twin. One twin is male, one twin is transitioned to female. So a lot going on there just to unpack really. But that's the only individual I've seen on a debate level who identifies and has transitioned in this kind of mannerism.
Yeah. I think I know the individual you're talking about. I didn't know that person was a twin actually, and that person did it quite young. And again, that individual grew up in a very predominantly white kind of environment.
That's why I mentioned it. Yes.
Yeah. So again, like that's what I'm saying. I don't see it as an imminent threat for us in real life. I feel like that's why they're pushing it so hard to target us. So it's good to make that aware. Because I feel that there is definitely some sort of agenda to target us. Every single time you see something with transgender, it's a black person leading the discussion. They've got passion with the charge. So on media and stuff where the government's paying for or agents are paying for to deliver a message, definitely I see it heightened. But in real life, it's just not happening yet.
Do we ever see Asian parents and their children being pushed as the poster people for these kind of things? Do we ever really see that?
I've probably have seen it, but
Really?
I've not seen them as the forefront. Like
Yes.
if I see it, I'll see like if there's something to do with transgender, it'll be the black transgender individual talking the most with the attitude, having all the arguments, talking passionately, leading the charge. And they might just be there in the background, but it won't be a group of them. It might just be an odd one. And because they can look very ambiguous and they're already piled up with a lot of makeup, they can blend in. They're not as identifiable as a fully black man just as a woman. If that makes sense. They could probably look at Mexican or Latino, and that's the problem, right? So, and I think that's another thing about having a black individual. There's no mistaking what that person is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it always seems to be a dance. Like, it's just a very no question. That's a black individual. So yeah.
I would say, to be honest with you, the transracial is going to be very effective, family, because as what you said, Sister Kushti, the white woman has always wanted to be like used like. We know that she used to bath in gravy to darken the cells up, but if they promote this, which they're doing, brother Raven, they can literally get the elite white supremacists to conquer the African continent more effectively than ever. Because the black man, unfortunately, he already is dopamine, the unsynchronized one. You know, the white woman, she has a bum like the black woman, right? That's already in our head anyway. And then on top of that,
look at J-Lo, that's a prime example.
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of that,
Kim Kardashian.
To be able to darken and then going in the African continent and getting the validation of the black woman, they could conquer the continent and take all the resources within a night, brother. That's very dangerous, brother, man. Very, very dangerous.
And that's why I bring it to this video that we started with, is because it's about training the community how to break down information and dynamics. So I've spoken to people where they were like, this is a win for black people. This is a win for this gentleman. it's a good optical thing to see black men marrying rich black men's daughters. And this is reparations. And obviously, I don't know if this man's a comedian, but we'll listen to it one more time, and we're going to see if we can unpack how.
That rhetoric is mainly from black men.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah.
Out.
No, I agree that,
and there is a pushback from black women on the ground in regards to the transgender, where there's a lot of women not appreciate being having to be calling themselves a cis woman, and things like that. You know. So I don't know. I mean, the transracial, I could definitely see them wanting to do that, especially with us. But with black women, I don't know if they'd turn around and just let you take their race, their title. Like, I don't know if it's just that's what I mean. I don't see it because that's the thing that black women will hold on to.
The thing is, if we listen to, not that we should use as an example, but this is the first time seeing this, but obviously this sister here from Africa, I assume Kenya or Uganda or something. But she and this is the thing, I noticed on the continent as well, they're very nice people when it comes to people who are not from there to come in. And this woman, I think she said she accepted us.
Visit me, we had a lot of fun. If you meet her in real, then she looks like African, so like me, African. She's now brown like me, and I find her interesting. She looks nice.
It's not only the look that changed, also the.
It's just something that I think we can always have fun and games and jokes, but these comment sections up there.
It's kind of a lot of noise in my background. Oh, go ahead, sister.
Go on, let Chris speak, and then Brother Devil jump in after. What are you saying?
Okay, go, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say. You see, I don't think that they're that naive on the continent. Do you know what I mean? These white people come in, the blatant white women dressed up with big boobs, and like they just must have saw this clown and thought, "What, you want a couple of pounds for me to say what? To laugh and say that you look like an African woman?" And they're probably going back to their peoples and their community and having a good laugh and probably saying how much they got just to say, but should never be like, in reality, she will never be accepted as an African woman. Right? You know that. So I don't think that just shows me that even more. I mean, even the laughter, like the ha 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 ha, like it was so exaggerated and like, it's like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. To me, and knowing black women, the black women just not going to roll over and let white women say that they are now black, because it's been the black women who have had to shut down white women taking their hairstyles, educate them about this, do this. Like, there's a lot of things that black women have maybe suffered the loss of, and in this day and age, I doubt they're going to just let you take their blackness, not to a white woman.
Here's why I always try to talk about black, and Brother Devil jump in when I finish this. Because white men have such a big media platform, they can just market as what they want. Now, if the white women wanted to portray themselves as black women, they have that kind of market to jump on. That's why black men need to have their own kind of platforms where you can market certain things. So because like I said, when we look at this transition of the basketball player's son, there's a massive pushback, but without like a equal kind of media hub, you can paint the picture that this is what black people like. But Brother Dev, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, go sleep. We gotta be careful, huh? Go sleep, because my friend in Kenya, she's a financial advisor, and she was saying last week she went to do a session with a bunch of Kenyan youths from 25 to 21, and all of them were gay. Yeah.
Right.
And she said when they came to pick up, they came with escort. Yeah. They came with escort, police with guns and so forth. Drive her to a secret place. Yeah. To have the class. And some of those kids, she said, was wearing Pampers.
Pampers.
Yeah, you read between the line.
Right, okay.
They are gay. They were wearing Pampers. And she had to sit there and conduct that class with a lot of teeth grinding. But what she said was alarming is that a gay company in the United States fund these kids. Yeah? So they have these classes for them, and they're going to give them funding to open business. They have private homes for them, protected by armed gunmen. Yeah?
Interesting.
So if you look at the state of how far they're going with these things to protect these people, because they know it's taboo in Kenya. So they have them in a what like residential area, paying thousands of dollars to home these guys who not working, but they're going to give them X and X amount of money. Because that's why she went there, because she's a business consultant. She teach you how to run a business, how to set up a business, etc.
Right.
They're going to get lots of money to open their own business. If you look at the scope of this thing, it's getting scary. Trust me.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to at some point invite members.
Bro. Yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah, we're gonna have to invite, have a conversation with the LGBT black versions, and see just because there's obviously a lot going on that we might miss. It'd be good to get a full spectrum of what's happening and how things are perceived, and then we can move on. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Interesting story there from Brother Dev. Family, we are the three topics today are: do black people make songs about destroying themselves? Should black men marry daughters of rich non-black men to improve their status? And can the black woman identify as a black man? We started the show with I don't know if Empress did you see did you catch the beginning where the European gentleman was talking about black music and how the sponsorship companies make a lot of money from the Black Death and Black Chaos and this kind of stuff. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I never saw that part.
It's an interesting watch. Let me put it on now, just for those because it started earlier. Many people might miss it. So let's go. Let's skip to a certain. But what's this? There's a nice sign there. Let's talk about systematic. Let's hear it.
More death in the form of homicide involving black people this year than any other form of violence that dominates our national conversation. More than school shootings, mall shootings, mass shootings, workplace shootings, lovers' trysts that turn violent and bloody. Even more than in war and in terrorism, no one will lose their life at greater numbers than black Americans involved in violence. Now, when you talk about what's going on in one segment of society and somehow tie it to what's going on someplace else, you kind of lose people, they detach. This is our unknowing. Prejudice, discrimination, and racism are not the same. We know prejudice, it exists in human hearts and minds. Discrimination exists in hands and policies, but racism is neither in hearts and minds, nor is it really in policies. As a matter of fact, it doesn't take action to keep racism going, it takes inaction. It doesn't take hearts and minds to keep racism going, it actually has to keep things out of people's mind. Racism is like the millstone that churns along in the background. It just goes generation in and generation out and keeps turning out the same generational outcomes. Racism is like the nicotine stains left on the walls after the smoking tenants move out. They take the couch, they take the clock, they take the picture, but the evidence that they've been there still remains. Now, when I speak of black murder being normal, I'm talking about the combination of commonality and palatability. You know, black murder in our country is not only common, it's not only frequent, but it's an idea that we celebrate. It's an idea that we say is okay. We actually make heroes out of the notion, heroes out of people that trivialize and romanticize it. How common is black murder? Well, in some demographics in the United States, it's very common. According to the CDC, they release a report every year called the LCOD, leading cause of death. And every year, it's been this way year in and year out for the past decade, as far back as they list on their site, black males ages 15 to 34, the number one cause of death is homicide. The number one cause of death. For white males, it's number 3. And when you hear that, you instantly go, well, yeah, I mean, that would seem right. I mean, I hear of black-on-black crime, or I hear about urban crime, so I guess, yeah, number 1 to number 3, I mean, it's a problem, but it's really not that bad. But the devil is always in the details. The truth of the matter is that if I were to take everybody that dies in this year, every black male 15 to 34, and I brought them into a room December 31st, said, all of you have made it to the afterlife. And I want to take a quick survey. How many of you got here by cancer? A few voices would say, me. How many of you got here by auto accidents? Me. How many of you died of a heart attack on an athletic field? Me. And I said, how many of you were gunned down by another human being? And half the room would raise their hands. Now, every time I show this information, people always say, well, if the number 3 cause of death for white males, what is the number 1 cause of death? And without fail, year after year, it's called unintentional injuries, accidents, falling off a four-wheeler, crashing a go-kart, or bungee jumping without paying attention to, knots and things like that. And so basically, the American story is white kids are dying because they're clumsy, and black kids are dying because they're gunned down. Chicago, just like New Orleans, just like Jacksonville, just like Little Rock, how common is black murder? The past 3 years, there's been about 1,270 victims of homicide, 2012, all the way up to this week in 2014. And of those victims, 64 were white. Now, this transcends the simple diagnosis that we have. Well, it's education, it's poverty, it's family structure. As you study it locally, nationally, as you study it decade after decade, it doesn't follow any of those easy answers. Something much deeper and much darker is at work. How common is black murder? Well, in my entire life, 1973 to 2014, there has never been a year since I've been breathing that blacks have not been overrepresented in homicide. Never been a year that you can go into a morgue and you don't see blacks overrepresented. It's the story of America. It's certainly the story of America in my lifetime. My question is, what will be the first year that we see it a 1-to-1 ratio? I mean, if it's somewhere between 7-to-1 and 10-to-1 now, I mean, when will it be 1-to-1? We would consider it a huge national victory if we ever got it to 5-to-1, to 4-to-1, to 3-to-1. Violent crime has gone down over the past 40 years. People say, isn't that great? No, because prison has gone up over the past 40 years. And no matter the fact that violent crime has gone down or prison has gone up, what's never closed is the gap. There's always that gap, 6-to-1, 7-to-1, 8-to-1. Usually it's the smartest person in the room at this point that yells out from the back, so are you saying you want more white people killed? And then all of a sudden I realize that's why we die in clumsy accidents. All right, here we go. Now, the real question is, why is this going on? Why is this the story of my life? Why is this the story of my country? And everyone in this room falls into one of 2 categories. You're in one of 2 categories. Either there's something wrong with them, some core deficiency in black people, they're just prone to violence, so we use anecdotal evidence to talk about that, or there's something wrong with us. And depending on what category you fall in, if there's something wrong with them, you point fingers. Hey, we need to do something. If you say there's something wrong with us, then you roll up your sleeves and you get busy. Well, the truth is there is something wrong with us, and that's years ago we set off a bomb, and that bomb affected our cultural soil. It affected our definitions. It affected our expectations. It affected who we are, how we describe ourselves, and how we describe other people. What we believe down to the core of our being. It's in our air, it's in our cultural water, and it's passed down from generation to generation. Now, again, it would take me a few TED Talks to really get into this, but the bomb is about lies. It's about deep lies. One of the lies is that blackness is somehow associated with criminality, sexual deviance, and violence. That when you come across blackness, that inherent in being black, there's some sort of deviance, violence, and criminality associated. And that's a derivative of a greater lie, which is that somehow black life is inferior to white life, that the value of it is less. That if you were weighed in the scale, the black life just weighs a little less. That if you were trying to cash it in on the street, you'd get a little less money for it. And these are essential to, these are the lies that help build our nation, help build the Western world. And here's what's interesting about this, is these lies are not only lies we've told about black people, but we've told to them. I was in an unsolved homicides meeting here in Jacksonville last year, 1,100 unsolved homicides. I was there with the families. They were having a conversation with our sheriff's department, and on the walls were all the pictures of the victims. And you already know the vast majority of the pictures were of black residents of Jacksonville. There were white families there, certainly, and I'm not trying to say that it doesn't happen among the white community. Of course it does. But I'll never forget, a mom interrupted the detective. She said, "Excuse me, I have a question." He said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I know you don't know who killed my daughter, but I have a more important question." He said, "What is that?" She said, "When you picked my daughter's body up off the side of the road," she said, "How did you do it?" He said, "What do you mean, how did I do it?" She said, "Well, did you pick her up, and did you set her on the gurney, and did you zip her up in the bag, and did you slide her in the back of the van, and did you shut the doors gently?" She said, "Or did you just pick her up, slam her down, zip her up, and put it in?" She says, "I want to know how you treated my daughter's body when you picked it up off the ground." She said, "Did you treat it like you would treat a white man's daughter?"
Was there? The question was asked, like, when you see a black body, even though it's deceased, do you still have the same respect? And I think this works both ways, in the sense that we watched, I think, a week ago, maybe 2, where there was the European white police officer who allegedly accidentally killed a black man by walking into his house and shooting him. And we saw that the brother was hugging the woman, the judge was asking for forgiveness, and the black cops were rubbing her hair, this kind of stuff. And this is what I'm saying, is how things are built, how people perceive things. And that's why we need to have a re-education of black love and this kind of stuff, because unfortunately, it's already in the mind, you see, how to perceive things.
But Raven, I'll be honest with you, this is very dangerous, brother, because
I hear that, yeah.
On one hand, you have a European who benefits from the unethical code of conduct on black people, and then explaining racism, brother, how it goes, and black people are watching this, who really don't want to take responsibility that we're going to have to do it for ourselves, will naturally say to themselves, well, that means that not all Europeans practice unethical code of conduct. That means we can rely on them, they can help us out, and we can defeat white supremacy, which is why a lot of the Pan-Africanist elders that I grew up with always says, brother, is that they should never be explaining racism, brother. It's very dangerous. You know what I mean? Black struggle is a commodity to them. And we must never ever watch these types of things or do respect to, brother. It's dangerous.
Brother, what Brother Kel said is extremely important, and very super important. And that is this concept that when you show a European or white person explaining racism, doing a good deed, going to Africa and giving rice, what it might be, that there are many black people. We're using this as a case study, but the average everyday black person might see this and they might start building the Robin Hood theories in their head and the white savior theories and this kind of stuff. And definitely within this broadcast, we want to train around that to like black betterment in the definition is black people helping black people on black issues, so that there can be no changing of that dynamic. But Brother Ken is correct in the sense of we always want to train black people to not look at a white person who might tell the truth or give some inside scoop as the solution or the ally. That it doesn't work that way. Everything has to be done within house. However, we will be looking at data that anyone presents and use it as a method of steering black people into the correct direction. But 10 points of Brother Kelder, he's very correct in that one. Very correct.
Can I
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was slightly off topic though. So
No, it's fine. That's fine.
I was gonna say because of what you said about certain places in the continent, and also I did want to mention on the back of what you were discussing earlier about transracial. And I don't know if anyone's aware about what's happened recently in Tunisia or what's happening recently in Tunisia.
Yes, I was aware. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely think that we need to have that as a topic next week.
I agree. I do agree.
Yeah, because I'd absolutely have more information and stuff like that. We'll see the timelines and how different government departments are moving and stuff like that. But if you want to talk about transracial, I mean, the continent of Africa and people who are not necessarily, well, the people who are not the originators of that land are now talking about immigration of black people of that continent moving around. There should be free movement in the continent of Africa, like the cheek. And it's like it's actually the president talking this way, and the way that it's affecting actual people on ground is shocking. And the fact that there's not again, as I always say, it's the silence which is deafening, right? Because this is all of these people, like what Brother Cal said is supposed to be the savior, are not talking up. I don't see it in mainstream media, but if this was Ukraine, it'd be an issue. I mean, it's bad enough that I think it's the Ivory Coast has had a private plane to take out their citizens out of the country. So for an African country to organize, because I'm not here to disrespect. I'm gonna stay on code, but we all know if those lengths are happening, something serious is clearly happening on the land, on ground there, right? That the Ivory Coast government has hired a plane to take out its citizens out of that country. The last time we saw something like that was in Ukraine.
Yes.
When they were being racist. So what is happening, and why has it not got the same kind of media coverage on the white savior? They clearly don't care about this. Again, it's an Islamic country. Again, the silence is deafening. We have no friends, and what is going on currently there is shocking. Like, it is actually shocking, and the lack of coverage on it again is deafening, and it makes you realize or overs and see things more clearly. And I think this is a prime example of everything we're talking about, and that's why it's convenient for no one to be talking about it, because no one wants to highlight this, because this is a plain example of what Black Betterment stands for in every which way, what's happening in there. So I definitely think that that needs to be covered and highlighted, because from the little that I've been hearing on it, it's actually shocking. That, I mean, it's not shocking, but I have enough fire in my belly that it's still a disrespect, and it's just shocking. I mean, I'll send you what I've seen, but for example, there was a lady, I saw a link where there was a lady who was interviewing on the ground. So she was just interviewing a Tunisian man, and she was just like, what do you think, because this is serious, this is like a big thing that's happening. So she goes up to him, she always goes, what do you think about it? And he goes, what do I think about what? And she goes, about what's going on with the African people in Tunisia. And he goes, well, the values are different. We're not the same, we're different. And she goes, what do you mean by that? He goes, we're different people, their values are way different than us, they're not the same as us. And she goes, oh, okay, well, how many Africans do you know, or Black Africans do you know? And he goes, pardon? She goes, well, you're talking about their values, I'm just asking, like, how many you've been around? He goes, how many have I been around? Me. He goes, me. He goes, my uncle used to buy and sell them all the time. What are you talking about? I've been around them all the time. Brayson on national TV, bro.
Yeah,
We definitely need to get that video. I mean,
Brayson on national like
this is
the
shocking.
energy there, like, oh, and Black people, so, and I've got I had an interesting conversation with one of my friends, because Black people will be the first one to say, I've been to Morocco, I go to Tunisia, do you know what I mean, and all this rubbish. Like,
well, yeah, you see the Speakers Corner community, because they were a lot of them were on that kind of, we're all one and one on one, this kind of stuff. And I remember being quite a solo voice first, saying collectively Black people have no friends, and North Africa, you will see a lot of mistreatment of Black people. And then shortly after, the enslavement happened, and then obviously this now. It is an issue, but once again,
we can definitely do something. Sorry to interrupt you, bro, because I just remembered something else. Because what that man said, brazen on TV, for me was just, that was it for me. My uncle used to buy and sell them all the time. Like, again, that's his uncle. We're not talking about a great grandfather or nothing like that. An uncle. That's very recent. You're talking about real life slavery.
Yeah.
Brazen on national TV. No fear of repercussion or nothing. Just.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with this, is right. In 2006, we used to do little movements in North Africa, the capital, Marrakesh, and we used to kind of, because those days I had a lot of, there was a lot of unity, but we used to make sure that they were able to, spend time in the hotels, be slept. The Black Moroccans or North Africans and the other ones, we used to make sure they got their rights. And this was in 2006. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not attacking the religion, but the Black Muslims and the non-Black Muslims united together to destroy that movement that myself and others were doing. The Black Muslims, the unsynchronized one, could not understand. The religion got in between, that when they go in the queues and people are pushing the queues and not letting them get fed or anything like that, and the movements, what we was doing every single day, they couldn't fathom it. They couldn't fathom the fact that we're making sure they're getting food in restaurants, and they literally, destroyed the movement. Unsynchronized Black Muslims. 2006. It was, even now I'm just thinking about it, it's like, it broke my heart. You understand? It literally broke my heart, man.
I think, and I tried to explain to Speaker's Corner, especially from my observation, the unsynchronized Black Muslim will fight harder for the non-Black Muslim than the unsynchronized Black Christian fighting for the non-black Christian. I've seen it. I think what it is, I think
but what I'm asking you now, brothers, where it is, you can't blame this on anything because we've heard all the stories. It's not this, it's that, it's this. This is direct racism in a Muslim country, right?
Yes.
So I mean, I don't know. We probably have to have this conversation, like, because I don't understand, because hearing what you are both saying, that's when it's comfortable to talk like that. That's how you can go around the houses. But what are you going to say at this point as a black Muslim looking at this? Like, do you know what I mean? And I don't know. But then
you do understand that, but they do. You see high subservience from many black Muslims daily. You see, you got to understand that if you look at the Arab slave trade, since then, those ideologies of devaluing black has happened, and the goal is to be seen as good within that ummah, right? So that's the goal, and they put very little value on blackness. I've seen it many times. I've seen people stand up saying, you know, I'm Muslim first and then I'm black. Now I understand what that means, as in, you know, you place emphasis on the religion and you want to get to gender, this kind of stuff, right? However, what actually saying is your blackness doesn't matter, but then to the people who you're trying to get brownie points from, it does matter, as you just described. You see, so it's this is the subservience that we speak of.
And I think, like, I just wish people open their eyes, because this is not the first kind of things that we've seen in North Africa recently. It wasn't long ago that we just did a show on what happened on the border going on to, what was it, Turkey or Spain or something like that, where they all got shut down.
Yes.
Morocco or something like that. People were marching not too long ago about, this. And the thing is, you heard what has happened recently in Egypt, how they blocked Kevin Hart from coming over because he says that the original Egyptians were black.
So let's try to collate, because when we look at Africa has 54 countries. Of the 54 countries, 4 of them can be described as a non-black majority, and that's in the north, right? Currently, so you have Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, and Egypt. They're the 4. Now, what we're saying is and Libya. Did I mention Libya? Yeah. Libya. So it's Libya, Tunisia. I guess Egypt makes it 5 then, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, 5. So that makes Africa 49 countries outside those 5. But if we look at the things we describe as it comes to anti-black racism, we covered the enslavement of the sub-Saharan Africans in Libya. That's correct, right? Then the border, was that in Mexico, Morocco, where the border?
I think that one was Morocco, you know.
Yeah, it was last year. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. And now this is now Tunisia with the Egypt. I've always seen many things to do with celebrities in Egypt. So celebrities calling black people monkeys and these kind of comments, and then obviously now with Kevin Hart saying about the ancient Egyptians being black, and then obviously that's a big hoo-ha. One of the Moroccan presidents, Egyptian presidents, he was a Nubian black man, but I read somewhere, I haven't got it confirmed, but I read somewhere, I think he was played by an African American in a film, and he was like very displeased that a black person played him, something like this. It was some. I need to really get that, but I remember seeing that, and that was like one of the last black phenotypically Egyptian in a prominent position historically. I can't remember how long ago that was. But yeah, these things do go on. But it'd be good for us to collect this.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a good one for next week, where it's just like there's a pattern. Do you know what I mean? Like we've focused on every single time it's happened, so why not collate it? Because this is getting silly now. Like the arguments that we're getting back is not correlating. Like I'd rather you just be quiet and stay quiet than to fight me and tell me what I'm seeing is not what I'm seeing at this point. You know, because it's just ridiculous. And I think in regards to Egypt, although we might not have crimes against humanity, they are definitely doing crimes against our history. Like what they're doing to actual artifacts, our oldest artifacts that we have. That looks like us and things like that is ridiculous. I mean, where else would you go to where you would dig out people's graves to move them? You know, what they did a couple of years ago when they moved out all of the pharaohs and things like that and moved it on, and they Arabized the whole ceremony. Like
Yeah.
in that actual culture where of the bodies that you're moving, that is the highest form of disrespect.
Yeah.
That's
Do
the
you know what I
issue.
mean?
Yeah.
Like
This is a
what
financial
would I
come
look
up.
like going to a borough now, a posh borough now, somewhere in Chelsea, and going to a grave and digging up their bodies and then checking if they've got gold, stripping them from anything that people put, and then deciding to move the body, like, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours to a different
Yeah.
country because it's more presentable for people to see their dead bodies on display. Like when you want to talk about civilization and who's civilizing who, do you know what I mean? This is not of us. So they might not have been Egypt might not be doing, we might not have caught them yet doing any form of slavery, but what they've done to our artifacts and our history is disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, like, so all of those countries there, they've all got something, you know, a little plot for next week. You know, they can all get a little 30 minutes because what's happening recently is just crazy.
Yeah, no, we'll cover the North African Tunisia thing. Maybe like we'll try to round up, but maybe I'll show some stuff from Speaker's Corner as well, because that's where we have North African individuals, you know, saying one Umar, and you know, there's one. I remember there's one. I won't mention names, but I do remember there was a black speaker brother, and he was saying things like, I think his best friend is of North African descent. He said, like, if my who he referred to him as my brother can't come to anything I'm doing, I won't go. So when I was explaining like Betterment, saying that, you know, you have to, you know, you can have your best friends play Street Fighter, this kind of stuff with them, whatever. But when you're doing Black Betterment, it's just for black people to come together. And you do hear that if my friend can't come, I can't come. And remember that the non-black people, they don't think that way. You see.
No, they don't.
The black person is, this is what I'm saying, inclusive, one for all, and but then that same black person, I saw recently on one of these feeds, he was mentioning this incident on Tunisia, and it just, I think the position the Black Betterment has at the moment is definitely the best position to have as it pertains to black people, because it's a in-house solution. Yeah.
So what the person who was talking about it, were they a black Muslim or
no? So they're a black person, and their best friend was a North African.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And I remember saying, you always welcome to help out, brother. And they said, nah, if my North African brother can't join, I won't be joining, I think. And I guess,
when you said that you saw someone talking about Tunisia, you saw a clip.
Tunisia. Sorry, what do you mean? I'm a bit confused.
Sorry, you was just saying something. You were saying because you saw a clip about someone, and then you were saying that this is like what you've noticed with black people. So I just wondered if that person happened to be Arab, or he had happened to be a black Muslim that was talking.
So the person talking was a black brother, and he was. I saw on his feed, he was saying, you know, what's happening in North Africa. You know, he was mentioning that people talking, and then when they talk, they always use the but and so they say this is bad, but, and when they say but,
it's true. Yeah.
Well, if you ever put a but at the end of the sentence, it means everything you said before the but is irrelevant.
Yeah.
What's very interesting as well, family, is that some of us, you know, we kind of have family members from, you know, the European, the Asian, Middle Eastern background, right? And when an African descendant tells you, right, who is Pan-Africanized, that all of them practice unethical code of conduct, right? You shouldn't question that. When they tell you that they practice their race before any form of religion, you shouldn't question it.
Exactly.
What I'm not doing about people, they will question you, even though you are the one that's raised amongst the same people that are practicing on ethical code of conduct. I find that very, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have to collate this information and present it, you know, in forms of snippets and stuff, like a collective collage snippets and constantly do it. It's a very good marketing tool. Just regardless of what people say, you showed up, and that's why I always start. Unfortunately, we are collectively inadequate until we can understand the basic stuff that non-black people practice every day, and how they change their tones and behavior patterns when they're around us to make us more vulnerable, so we can essentially give them something we're doing. So I'm reminded of a time I went on a panel, and this panel had a white woman who's always frequently there amongst black men, which is something. And I remember saying that we don't need any help. We want to focus on ourselves. And this white individual was like, no, I really want to help. And I said, the problem is when I actually give white people the method of helping, they usually turn it down. So I said, okay, well, I'll tell you. I go, why don't you go form your own institutions dedicated to replacing racism with justice and give back reparations, and then just let us know anytime racism is being practiced, so we can have a fair warning. She goes, oh no, I don't have really time for that. No. I'm thinking, but you really wanted to join what we're doing, didn't you? You really wanted to make effort in our institutions. When I tell you to use the power, you have to do your own ones. She didn't want to do it, and that's something that I have never seen a white person or an Arab person or a non-black person ever after fighting to join and getting in and making sure that the black people dismantle black stuff because they're not there. They have all the energy for that, and the evidence is on YouTube. You can see Speaker's Corner. But when I present them the method of actually helping black people, they don't want nothing to do with it. And this is what Brother Kel's talking about. This is the code that every non-black person practices. It's called self-preservation, you see, and they do it at a superior level to black people.
Yeah, or it's supposed to be instinct. That's supposed to be an instinct, self-preservation. You'd think, right?
Once again, that's why I keep saying that we have been conditioned to be anti-black in the sense of we're not people first. We're not B1. We're like I said, black people. The only skill I've seen from a collective standpoint, black people practice really well is subservience, like a collective subservience towards other people groups, and that obviously that has been trained. You see, that has been trained. And when you see Tunisia and them kicking out people and in North Africa enslavement, that's because that's the expectation. I remember we saw the Arab man in the Speaker's Corner, and one of the brothers said, "Oh, Adam was a black man," and he said, "We have no idea what color Adam is, but he wasn't black." So these kinds of, it's like it's making sure black people and Egypt, and the reason I say that is because that correlates with Egypt. Them saying there's no way the ancient Egyptians could be anywhere near black. Anywhere near black. You see, I remember I was debating a white supremacist. This was back in the old days on the internet, and he was saying, "How can the Egyptians be black? Can you name one country that's a black country that does anything even similar to Egypt?" I said, "Yeah, Kush."
Come on, that's what I'm saying.
And I said, "Well, can you name a white country that does anything similar to Egypt?" And he couldn't. I was like,
exactly.
So I've just used your logic against you, but you're still going to be here tomorrow saying the same thing. Say the same.
Do you know what? It's that power. Do you know what they did so well? It's the illusion of grandeur. Even though it don't make sense, they believe it. Even when you give them knowledge, they're so dumbfounded. Like when you twist it, when you shot it back to them, it's like sense came. And it's like they don't know what to do with it. But you are literally, as a grown person, like they've programmed these people to talk like rubbish. It's literal rubbish. Like the illusion of grandeur, just because it's white, it must be right. It's mad. Do you know what I mean? Like when you really picture it, and we've all been the victim of it. We're all having to like come out of it. Some of us are better than others, but it's just when you see the power of because the great thing about knowledge is finding out how much crap was crap. Do you know what I mean? How much was wrong? And it's like when you think to yourself, they've built this big illusion, this illusion of grandeur, this powerful illusion across the globe, Arabs, Asians, black on blacks. Do you understand? And it's all on the back of nothing. Nothing tangible. It's not even feasible. Like,
that makes
wow.
very Yeah, but one thing that I wanted to help, what I used to mention in Speaker's Corner, was the giving away of power. So I was saying, for example, if so, when I go into forums and I'm talking about black love and the non-black women, make the black men react a certain way, whatever. When I will say, you know what, black men, if there's 10 of us in a room and we all say we love black women, then that's the end of it. There's no debate. Like no one can bully you into not loving black. You know what I mean? So you are giving non-black people the power to come into our space and make us undermine our own progress. And that's the importance of the power we give away. And that's why I'm okay with delineation to an extent where it's like, I'm only looking to work with black people who want to help black people, you see.
Yeah.
And for the others, we'll work on your benefit, on your behalf. But
yeah, you're welcome.
You're welcome if your mindset is synchronized, you can come. But you can't if we're trying to promote black love and you're constantly throwing black women everywhere, then it's gonna be problematic. We can't.
100%. I meant you're welcome and said you're welcome. Do you know what I mean? Like we're doing you a favor whether you know it or not.
Yeah. But like I said, and that's why I say that's why training strategy of all come one, come all, to only people can qualify and get to a certain level is a better method. And that's why I would start by acknowledging that we are collectively inadequate. And that's why we have to have this approach. Because when we have this kumbaya approach, self-sabotage becomes very high. And it's almost like you're begging someone to do something good for themselves. Or if you say, well, we've got the idea and we're working with the elite to do it, then they want to be a part of you, see. Yeah, and it's all psychological. If you can understand how people bring things down, and I think this is the method we have of how to sell self-preservation to our own people.
Okay, but let me ask you a question on that. When you said all I'd need is like 10 black men to profess love for 10 black women, but guaranteed those 10, that 10 that you're in now, you are guaranteed a target. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think those 10 will not get the media coverage.
No.
I think half of those 10 will probably come out with scandals about them.
Of course.
From the woodworks. I think, I do think that it'd be like that. Yeah, you'd get the racism angle coming chucking at them.
But the issue is branding, and what remember is people always find this angle very confusing. Why I push it? But if we acknowledge that we're coming from a conquered place, you see, like we haven't reached the plateau where we're actually thriving or sustaining. So I think there's an illusion that, and the reason the illusion comes because we're integrated in say white people's media or Arab people's media. So if they're winning, we're winning, and what they present is what we're presenting, isn't it? The we. But if we say, since we were colonized, since we were colonized and captured, we haven't actually yet hit that kind of place where we're consistently thriving. So until we do that, we're going to promote the basics, and the basics is black love. So even though there's going to be so many black men who are not with black women, whatever it might be, right? We go, okay, that's going on, and we have a history of why that is, but we need to promote the basics of black love, and that actually spills into transgenderism and all this kind of stuff. Yes, this stuff goes on. However, it's not a primary. The primary is we need to have people see black men constructive with black women, and when we look at data and stuff, it's a definite need. You see, and when we look at trends of not like, it's not natural for black men at the rate they are to marry outside. It's not natural. It's not natural.
And when I say that, I understand why you're going this route. I just commend you on it because it's a riskier route to go down, right? So I don't think it's not that I don't understand whatever. I'm just letting you know that it's that kind of
it's that dangerous. Yeah, it's very dangerous. But you realize that the most toughest black men. So we use Speaker Corner as an analogy, right? Black men, some of them are criminals, unfortunately. Some of them are tough, muscly, being in fights on camera. They'll fight against gangs, all this kind of stuff. They've been to jail for the worst crimes. They're petrified to say they love black women. Petrified. If ever they were to say black women only, black women are the primary, they'll be, they will never say it. And them guys on their shows, it'll be all of them. They're all a one-on-one with white women, all of them. And that's what I'm saying. But these shows, they'll talk about conspiracies, aliens, and chemtrails and UFOs. I don't care. But they don't want to talk about the fact that black men are high rate not marrying black women, and black men are not coming together to create industry. This is not
I know
natural.
that.
This is not natural.
Also, as well, Brother Raven, training black men to understand that you will be tarnished for being an alpha male, making sure black liberation for the black woman comes first in all things. This is the real alpha male. We have to train us that, because that's what Sister Kushti was saying. You know, being tarnished. Garvey went through it, Martin Luther King, you know, all of them went through it, but they still, Afeni Shakur, etc., they still carried on with that message, not being afraid of taking the knee, not being afraid that you will be assassinated, your character physically, you know, but making sure that the interest for the black race is first, so we can continue that is more important. We have to market that, brother, because we can get a bit scared.
Yes, I see it a lot. You're right on that, and it is talking about the concept of like, you know, people will come for you, but in every single thing you're doing that you define as high value or high merit, there's nothing greater than putting your people first, and constructive black man, a constructive black woman, and a constructive. There's nothing greater than that. Nothing greater. What is that? Is that a video? Oh, okay. Cool. So yeah, I'm looking at the time. It's telling me time. Oh yeah, we're 20 minutes over. Cool. Family, great. Time flies by when you're constructive. Sis Empress Kush has made a request, and that is to cover the North African experience. So we're going to do it next week, and there'll be something else. If anyone else, just let us know in the comments what we should cover. But we're definitely covering. We'll have to put it in some quirky way of the North Africa, but generally, it correlates with one of the first starting statements that is collectively black people have no friends. And one thing before I go, remember when we start the where's my document? One thing I always want you to do is homework. Every time on the Black Betterment Broadcast, I want to see if the three starting statements correlate with any of them, and you'll find that black people are collectively inadequate, collectively black people have no friends, and constructive black man, constructive black woman, constructive black family. You'll find that intertwined in every single topic. Yeah, and knowing these things, it will say dedicated on how to practice Black Betterment. Brother Cal and Brother Empress Kush, do you have any final words for this week?
Sister Empress Kushti. Yeah, go on, sis.
Sorry, thanks, bro. I was going to say, like, it's a pleasure again being on, and it was a good topic. And yeah, I look forward, hopefully, to be able to come through next week and talk on the next topic, and just to keep it up, because it's definitely needed. And I see that the tide is changing as well, So I have noticed as well that a lot of people or black men are now, well, this is American based, that are now talking against certain rhetoric that are bashing black women now, which is very interesting. So, you know, yeah, so I just think that everything that your brothers just said there's powerful. It's very powerful to hear it from brothers' mouths as well. So yeah, just for that, I just want to leave it on that note and just say big up for that.
Does the brother want to say something, Brother Razor? Is that
Razor? Yeah,
article done, Razor.
Can I? Good morning, by the way. I just want to say something really quick, because I literally just come in not too long ago. And good morning to you, sister. I don't know. I think I caught a whiff of it because I was trying to get in a Scotia operating system, whatever, blah blah blah. So I'll just make a quick statement. If this is about black music in general, a lot of it is in the mainstream is really just a lot of dysfunction. And so like just a quick thing about hip hop, I'll just say this very boldly. Hip hop has become the most limp-wristed, non-rebellious nonsense I've seen in the mainstream for a very long time. And as a 45-year-old man, I am utterly not interested in just following trends and stuff. And when it comes to the UK hip-hop scene, there isn't a balance between the so-called road rap and the actual hip-hop, like what they so-called class as backpackers hip-hop. There should be a blend of the two, so that even on channels like Link Up TV, where I was surprised to see Low Key to be honest. He's got a music video on it. I need rappers like that because you're missing out on people like Verbs and Ranel and CPMD and so many other different people. And I don't think the rebellious nature of hip hop in general, let's take even from an American's perspective, it's like I think the internet created a medium, like a level playing field. So it's about word of mouth, what you would regard as like current print media, like Hip Hop DX or Hip Hop News or any kind of these sites. Anyone who was into the blog era hip hop stuff with Two Dope Boys, used to download your stuff from like livemixtapes.com, that piff and all that. You kind of, I guess, follow a particular line that you can expand. Because I know people who listen to they don't mind Drake, but they'll listen to someone like, I don't know, Little Brother, which is ironic because the Justice League, blah 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 blah. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, man. I'm sorry I'm chimed in at the last minute though, because I know you probably been on there for a long time.
Big up, Brother Razor, man. Big up, King.
Thanks for that, Brother
Big
Razor.
up,
Hopefully-
Charles, man.
Really good input.
Hopefully you'll catch us next week. I'll be very interested if you do. And Brother Kel, would you like your last thoughts? Your last thoughts, Brother Kel?
No, Brother Black Betterment, Brother Razor, you've done well with that, brother. It's good to have you back,
Thank you,
actually.
man.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, work is tiring.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it's nice to hear you guys. You're still keeping the foot on certain topics because it's needed. To be honest, I don't like what I see a lot of the times, but I still try to keep an optimistic and open mind.
I don't know what artist it was recently. I just saw it, I think, yesterday, but someone just had a concert. It's obviously someone quite big. I don't know him anymore. Falling out of love with it. But she walked out. It was a black girl. She had a fro. And she was walking out of the concert. I'll try and send it to Brother Raven. She was walking out of the concert. You could literally hear the background. So she was in a concert. She was listening, and it just went all demonic. And she goes, she just felt scared, but then she started recording. So as she's walking out, you could hear it in the background, and it's literally like someone screaming. Like it sounds a kind of haunting. Yeah. And she was like, I don't know if you can hear this in the back. So it's probably trending somewhere. So you'll probably see it. I'm sorry I can't give you the name, but it literally just happened recently and it's trending. So watch out for it. But yeah, so that's kind of, they're not even hiding it, like the blood, the red, blood in the trainers, the whole culture's just gone.
There's a particular woman that does
demonic. It's nothing of what hip hop
cooking.
was,
No.
Yeah.
I mean, can I say something really quickly? He's like a producer. When he does good beats, you can definitely tell. Majority of the time, I mean, if you ever hear Al Farrow, I don't know if your brain will start bleeding or whatever, but he does some good beats. His name's Travis Scott. He was the last person I know with all this goblins and people getting juked with needles. It just sounded like the most psychopathic shit I've ever heard in my life. And I said, this is not like, that's rap in a different place. That's not hip hop. I don't know. It's just
that's a whole different genre.
Before I go, did we cover the AI rapper? Did we cover that?
No way.
So
yeah, I heard.
Yeah, so there's an AI rapper called what I'll do is let me type his name in. We'll do 2 minutes of it now.
So how does he get his lyrics from Chat GP whatever?
I'm not
There's a black man behind the whole. There's a company that's set up and they got a black guy to do the lyrics and everything. He's saying N words and he's looking like a mashup between Little Pump and all these other littles.
I'll show you now. Hold on.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
No way.
I wish I was lying.
So the thing is, it's been shut down because of a whole lot of some incidents that's been happening. But I think this one is screen. No, it should be a window. Right, where's the window? There it is, the window. Yes, this is one. So this is like the AI thing that they came out. Now, what it was, I think the issue was they had him like being arrested by police or being beat up or something, and a lot of stereotypical things they had this AI thing doing. And I think originally this black man here wrote lyrics, and then maybe this guy, I don't know, took it and and made it AI, and this guy wasn't paid, and then they took it somewhere else. But I mean,
Right.
well, this has been looking at this thing here.
Can you click on a page? Can you click on one of the pictures?
Can
Oh
you
my
see it now?
gosh, yeah.
But this is the what they're saying rappers look like. You see, I mean,
What color would you say he is?
Oh, this
Beige.
ambiguous man.
Yeah, definitely ambiguous.
Ambiguous man.
You know, I mean, he could be easily. What's that 69 guy? You know, that kind of,
Takashi 69.
them kind of things.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that kind of,
So this is the face of hip hop.
this
Oh, it's fucking it.
this is what they think of when they what the morning. And yeah, you're right. The hip hop has lost its. Well, so here's what it is. We just watched a video about a guy talking about how industries own things, right? And brands pay for certain things, and brands don't mind the negativity as it affects black people. So all this is going to have a knock-on effect. He was part of Capital
my
Records
God,
drops
it's
offensive AI
weird.
rapper. So this guy was signed to Capital apparently. Yes, that used the N word and being beaten by police. So yeah, because he was using the N word, and I don't think he's of African descent, and was shown being beaten by police. This, yeah, I know they dropped him because of the backlash, or whether it was.
They
Crazy.
dropped the AI.
Yeah. Probably gonna make a new one now, just call it something else, right? But yeah, who knows? But anyway, family, this is these topics are going forever, right? Good stuff. But we might continue this next week, who knows? Yeah, but until then, everyone, Black Batman, I hope to see you guys there. Black Batman.
Yeah, have a nice weekend, you lot, yeah?
There you go.
Take it easy.